everything positive
Yeah.
about your mom having cancer,
Yeah.
your sister having cancer, and your. Hey, everybody, we're gonna go live here. That makes everybody quiet here. Call to order at 6 o'clock. Motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Council Warwick, all in favor? Carried. Claude, still no?
I would just,
move on the agenda,
Okay.
and then if Claude joins us a little bit later.
Yeah.
we can
Okay,
slip
man.
him in.
Public presentations, okay. Same rules as always, 5 minutes.
And thank you, I'll try to be fast. And I'm not sure I ever would have thought I'd be so passionate about wind and power, wind and solar, but at the last council meeting and in the recent newspaper, actually, there was an article mentioned 550 turbines within a 50-mile radius of Hanna. And when you work that out, that's about 58 turbines per acre. And considering we have communities, water, roads and stuff all among that, that would actually turn out to be a lot more than 58 wind turbines per acre, so I'm not sure where those numbers came from.
550 turbines within 50 miles of Hanna, correct?
That's what I just said.
Yeah, but that's not 58 turbines per acre.
How many acres are in a 50-mile radius?
Well, I would hate to guess, but there's,
32,000.
no, it'd be more than that. Yeah.
It's a large number.
Yeah, it's,
And when you want to put 550 windmills,
yeah, well, I'm not putting them in, that was just a comment they made to
Yeah.
me, so,
no, I just wanted to,
yeah, but
say,
it's- yeah,
and
there's
it's-
not 58 per acre, trust me,
well, there couldn't be,
no,
but the numbers do work out to that.
no, we don't.
Okay, thank you. So, okay, along with that was the budgeting, the road repair, even for the ones that are coming back and up and back. Down 36 constantly, 2 or 3 times a week or a day, maybe even. I mean, that's constant wear and tear on the roads, and again, that's taxpayer funded fixes. Who benefited from the workers that are here now and have been here? I will, grant that a few large buildings that have been hosting those motorhomes probably have made an income, maybe some local businesses, I'm not sure. But the private homeowners that opened their homes to some of these men did not fare so well. We went without rent, some were abused, there was violence done, there was damage done to the homes. So I think it will be harder to find a private residence much longer for these guys. And that I don't hold it against the company or the men, that's just what happens. Solar and Pace, they're in a go big or go bust position right now. And I thought, build a greenhouse out there. Suck in all the CO2 you want. Everyone's afraid of the environmental. It would benefit the environmental, be friendly, full-time, long-term jobs, security for the company, and people coming in off the highway. If you want to do benefit to our community, that's just one idea. The damming of the Red Deer River, when we talked about who decides how much is let into Saskatchewan and who isn't. I mean, to me, that sounds really harsh, considering those are the same people, the same farmers, the same communities, same agriculture, just a little bit further east. And I don't think we should be controlling any of our rivers to stop what naturally flows where it goes. I don't understand the partnership between Harvest Sky and Lynx in the town, and maybe somebody will be able to answer this, but I'm wondering, the presentations that have been here and the, if you look at Harvest Sky, their agendas, what they've accomplished and all that. How are unelected officials making so many decisions about what kind of industry to bring in? And if they're doing that sort of thing, any kind of consultants, studies, any company that's going to be used in this town, every tender has to be brought in front of this council and voted on. I'm not sure, you can't just hire an engineer company to look downtown. Every tender needs to come in front of you guys and be decided upon. Every dollar, every tender, every company. And if some of those projects weren't even town limits, so I'm not sure why they weren't on the special areas asking, them for tax concessions or, their support. Sidewalks, paper and in the emails, who's responsible for the snow and ice that builds up on the sidewalks across our alleys? That's the most treacherous place in our in our town sidewalks that builds up across the alleyways that nobody takes care of. So, the residents that do take care of their sidewalks, I mean, we're not doing it because of bylaws. We do it to respect and to protect other people, right? That's what we do. But there are alleyways that you can't walk across. I can't walk across personally. And earlier this year, Town NATCO presented the new streetlights and with no 5G capabilities and with all the change in the infrastructure coming up, I'm wondering if we could get in writing that any surveillance monitoring systems used in public through any infrastructure will be made public. Any that are out in the public that monitor, surveil, or record in any fashion, the public needs to be,
My shop,
can it be seen?
if you come in and wanna see it, you can watch it.
Thank you. Like, that's all I'm asking, right? That's what people should know. And you would expect a business, that would be one of the places I would expect to see surveillance for your safety, not just surveil me on the outside. That's your private property. You're allowed to do this. This is public property. So I'm just asking if you will, if you will confirm in writing, maybe, I don't know, that none of that is happening here. And with the new infrastructure in 2024, Second Ave, will that affect the tax base to those businesses, and will it affect the community's tax bases? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Elaine? I just did the math quick, Elaine, that's one windmill for every 2,909 acres.
We'll have to show you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, it's 1.6 million acres, right? For 50 square. It's 50 square miles. It's 1.6 million
So
acres.
divided by 550.
It works out to 2,909.
Thank you. I apologize for that.
No problem. Any others like to speak? Hearing none. Do we have code now?
We don't, we're
He's been sent
emailing
the
back
link
and forth
twice.
and says he hasn't received it,
Okay,
so we may not have him here this evening. My last text from him was that, if we can't figure it out, he will, try and schedule to be here in January and will not submit his AUC application until after he's met with council.
perfect.
If he does get on, then,
We can plug them in.
slip him in.
Yeah,
So,
you betcha. 5.01. Minutes of the regular meeting of council, November 14th. Any questions, concerns? Hearing none, motion to accept is presented. Councilor Murphy, all in favor? Carried. Minutes of the special council meeting, November 28th, 2023. Motion. Councilor Olson, all in favor? Carried. And budget overview, November 2023.
one more set of minutes.
Sorry, minutes of the information meeting of council, November 29th, 2023. Councilor Thorold, all in favor? Carried. Finance reports. Accounts payable. Cheryl?
Got a question on dog waste bags there for $666.37. Was that a second order that we put in this year for this?
Yeah, we're out.
coming year? We're out. Okay, because I thought we did one earlier and I was supposed to do a year, but everybody must be using them.
That's a good problem.
That's good.
Using them or stealing them.
Yeah,
That's a bad problem.
Just in regards to that too, I have that 42930 Practical Limited. Can we not buy these bags locally?
Not sure.
Not of the specific size that fit in the specific holder.
And do we know that? Have we done our research or we sought out any local
I
business?
haven't.
So you're speaking to it, you don't know that?
I guess I don't know that, but I asked the question earlier and was told that in response
Okay,
for $600 a year.
this is twice now. I did take note of that too. So that's a lot more than 600. That's times 2.
But
So can
we
there
have to
be
look at,
some-
we have to look at, Councilor Warwick, where we are in the year.
Yeah.
So we're in December, November, so they're probably gonna carry forward through till. It's on average, one a year, so.
Okay, even if it's only one a year, the question's still the same, remains the same. Can we, do some outsourcing and see if we can purchase them locally?
We can check.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Counselor Bolton, you looked like you had something there for a second. You had something there for a second, I thought.
No, not blessings.
No, I just, you kind of leaned forward there for a second and I caught you, so I thought,
Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
because I usually I don't see and then I caught that one, so I better take advantage of it.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
Motion for accounts payable,
Actually, I have one more question.
Counselor Warwick?
42936, the Smith and Hershey Law. Do we have an annual, amount that we spend annually on legal transactions?
We budget $5,000 in.
Is that what it, okay, I
Yeah.
wasn't sure what that is. And do we traditionally use that full amount? Do you say? for
Knock
legal
on wood,
transactions?
knock on wood, we haven't, but it depends year to year, every year's a new year, so.
Okay. The only other one I have is 4292229, the FCSS art for auction. I guess if this is for auction, are we buying this to donate it for an auction? Or I guess, why are we
Yes.
paying for something that's going to? okay,
Yes.
that's donated to some kind of,
That's donated to the FSSA Association. They do a fundraiser at their convention conference.
okay, so that's donation, okay.
I believe it's a silent auction of some type.
Okay, thank you, that's all I have.
okay, anyone else? Counselor Carroll made the motion, all in favor? Carried. Statement of revenue, yeah,
So-
we'll get to Claude here, just,
What's
I'll
going
just,
on?
yeah,
Okay.
just as soon as we wrap up number 6.
Okay.
Don't-
So just want to explain, so in front of you, you had a hard copy, you had a new revised statement of revenue expense for November as well as a new budget overview. So when you're looking through it, there was an error made in the airport revenue section. So the airport revenue section, the year-to-date budget should be 264, 217, not 352, 500 under the revenue. And the revenue from the local grant, airport local grant should be 91,933 versus the 106,305. So it's on page 2 of your statement of revenue expense at the top. So the total revenue for the airport is 364,850 versus what says 467,505. So just wanted to let you know that was a change. And when I look back where it happened in council, had approved the tender for the runway lights, and it came in lower than the original budget. So we lowered the expenditure side, but we didn't lower the revenue, which means the grant would be less from Alberta Transportation and the dollars from special areas would be less because the overall project was reduced, so.
Page 2, which?
Revised, yeah. So page 2s are here. So what it basically leaves at the end, it changes the overall 2023 surplus reduces it to 121,605, so. Sorry about that, just caught that, so. If there's any questions, that's the only change from the one that you had sent out, but if there's any questions, you have one that was sent out, we'll do our best to answer.
Deborah, do you have one of those wood blocks?
Okay, hearing nothing, can we get
Yeah,
a,
no, that was the last one.
okay, go ahead, tell us.
On safety risk management training and the emergency service training. We didn't lose any money this year. Was everybody got all their training that needed to be done, or?
We haven't done anything on the emergency services side this year, so we didn't hold any exercises or anything, so. We're in discussions with special areas about an exercise, hopefully very soon, so.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, just seeing that none of this stuff was ever used this year, so. No,
Anything else? Motion to accept the statement of revenue and expense report for November 2023 for information. Do I use as amended, Kim?
Sure, yeah,
As amended.
I'll make that motion. Mr.
Counselor
Mayor.
Warwick, all in favor? Carried. Budget overview.
so again, you received a new budget overview because those two documents go together. So the only change on your budget overview is on page 2 again, under the airport where it previously said revenue. Budgeted revenue was 467,505 at the airport. It now should read 364,850. Everybody found that?
Any other budget overview questions? Hearing none. Motion to accept budget review for November 2023 for information. Counselor Farrell. All in favor? Carried. Claude.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me okay?
I'm not, yeah, I can't.
Can you hear me?
yeah,
Yeah, I can, yeah.
It's just coming out of your laptop.
It's just, yeah, it's just
Oh,
the
that's
laptop
perfect.
volume,
Yeah.
that's it.
So Claude, the floor is yours.
Okay, so I can't really see the screen for the slides, so I'm just gonna ask you to advance the slides for the council, if that's okay.
Yeah, you should be able to do that, right, Lori?
Yeah.
Have you got,
We won't be.
just let me know when you have the presentation up.
What's up?
It's up?
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much, council and mayor, for this opportunity to present this update. As traditional, we'll start with the land. Did you do a land acknowledgement at the beginning of your meeting, Kim?
We didn't, Claude, and we normally don't.
Okay, so then we'll skip that slide. Don't want to alienate anyone in this consultation. The third slide is a summary of our public involvement program. So what I hope to do tonight is to conclude this formal portion of our public involvement program leading up to the AUC application. When we started this process, we started it with a delegation to council. We subsequently had stakeholder information packages that were mailed out. I make no promises or apologies for the efficacy of Canada Post, but we have done several targeted mailers to people. We have left information packages at the municipal office. We've maintained a project website. We've addressed telephone calls and businesses, largely from suppliers looking for work and people calling us saying, we heard about your project, can I get a job there? That's the majority of the calls. Most of the other discourse has been in a electronic internet email format, which Rhonda has tracked and summarized if anyone wants to see it. The goal here is basically to provide a summary of the things that we stated and the things that we heard as we move through this process. And while other companies may choose to do a single public session and possibly consult with council, our promise to you in the beginning was that we would consult early, that we would consult often, to the point where I think you were tired of us. Certainly, from the feedback that we have from the community and from Kim, is that there are some people that are contentious about the project, and there's a certain amount of rancor in the community. People are upset from wind energy development. They're upset from fertilizer plants. They're upset. It's unfortunate, but when we know a stakeholder consultation is achieved its mandate, which is to inform not 100% of everyone in the community, but the majority of the stakeholders in the community, and we think that we've done that. In our third session, although we did see some new people attending the session, it was largely the same group as the internet session and the second session. And so we've met or exceeded AUC standards for this type of consultation. I don't like to have the Alberta Utilities Commission dictate to me what I think is effective consultation, but I think we've conducted one. Is it perfect? No. Until humans are perfect, I suspect that there's always going to be misinformation or wrong information. But we feel that the package that's going into the AUC is complete. We've continued to visit with people. We've talked to front-facing receptors, including an older couple that lives adjacent to the community who was concerned. We'll see in the next slide that we've addressed their issue. Newspaper ads were published, in-person public information sessions connected, multiple mailers where the AUC requires a single mailer at the beginning. We've done multiple mailouts to the community. Newspaper ads obviously have gone in multiple times announcing those sessions, and all the events have been shared with the help of the municipality through the social links. The next slide, slide number 4, is where we landed.
Councilor Bowe,
Claude, when would you like questions, at the end or during?
If they're relevant to the slide, then we can ask them. If there's a general question, I prefer you wait till the end, because I may cover the subject matter in those slides. But go ahead. I'm not that formal. Go ahead.
Okay.
It's in relation to your slide, public involvement program. And in there, you've indicated PACE staff visited homes and businesses of all front-facing receptors. Can you share what the response was?
Well, the response of knocking on people's doors is always very low. So did she, Rhonda's comments were that she didn't receive an overwhelming negative response. I don't know the exact statistics, but she can provide you, because she keeps a log of who she visits and when she has conversations. But she's been in the community multiple times trying to achieve those people. The problem with door knocking is you have people who have signs that say no solicitation. People are generally home when she does it during the daytime. And it's one of the comments that I've made to the AUC, that from a public safety point of view, from a staff safety point of view, I don't really like the concept of going door to door trying to get a hold of people. The problem is we have no way of accessing phone numbers for people. So we mail stuff out. If we don't receive from them, we go door knocking to ask if they've received it, if we have any questions. We made an effort, a very sincere effort. However, it's not a very effective methodology. And I've said this to the AUC repeatedly, that you get less than 5% of the people that are home, that answer the door, that want to comment. And so it's not really effective. So as of recently, as of today, when I presented to the AUC on some of these issues, I took the opportunity not just to comment on land issues, which Module A at the AUC was about today, but also the inability of, or the lack of consultation that some municipalities get from developers. And then in turn, the instructions that the AUC gives us to what they see as what is an effective form of communication and consultation. So in the days when the AUC wrote these specifications, we had phone books and we could call people up and say, we'd like to speak to you face to face because we have a mandate to contact those people within 400 feet or 400 meters that are front facing. In this particular case, there's 2 homes and industries, and then there's a number of residential commercial spots on the other side of the water body, the reservoir, the lake, whatever you want to call it. And so it's not an effective way to get a hold of people. That's what the AUC says we do, and we try to. The reason we keep a record of the success rate is so that we can demonstrate it's not very effective.
So I know I spoke to some residents that are directly north of the dam, and they did not get any sort of contact. And so your comment, PACE staff visited homes and businesses of all, can you, is that that's not really then an accurate comment, is it? If that was not done, then it should not be part of your slide information, is that correct?
No, not correct. We did in fact attempt to visit people. We did talk to some people. I can't give you the statistics tonight, but I'm happy to provide you with those. The dates that she was in the community, the day that she was door knocking.
Yeah, well, these individuals will be directly impacted and
But,
they
but,
have not
but
seen
unfortunately, that doesn't mean they were at home the time we did it. That doesn't mean they heard somebody knocking. Generally, when she visits home, she puts business cards in the door so that people know that.
So then maybe that should be in there, that the attempt was made, that it was not all.
I'm happy to change the language in our bullet point.
Yeah.
But the point is still
I
valid.
would appreciate that, because that to me is not an accurate comment. And thank you, I appreciate that.
I appreciate the edit. We'll do that.
Thank you.
No problem.
Just jump, Councilor Crowell has a
Oh,
question,
sorry.
Claude.
Yes, all events shared through the town of Hanna social media channel.
I can't hear him.
Talk into that.
I say, the last topic there is the event shared through the town of Hanna social media channels. Why was this on the town website?
For information.
I will address that question, Claude. So we put their information on the website because we wanted to make sure everybody was aware. We never took a position in terms of promoting it. We wanted to make sure people were aware when the consultations were being taking place. So it was just another avenue for people to gain information that they might not otherwise have. So certainly there was no position taken in any of the stuff on the website in regards to pros or negatives. We just wanted to make sure that if people knew there was a consultation, it was one more avenue that people might see something through our social media.
So isn't that something that should have been brought before council or you have all the power to do that?
We normally do that for any consultation of any type. We just want our residents to be aware. Certainly, if we were taking a position on it, that would be something we would want direction from council.
And Claude, just to confirm, at the last public engagement you had here in Hanna, I was not present, but I did receive some feedback. Was there limitations to the number of people that could attend?
No.
And so everybody that came was able to get through the doors and participate in the presentation that you had?
Yes. We were at the, when we did the first consultation, we were at the library, and Rhonda looked at the room size and said, you know, we're limited because of the room size. Then we moved to the community center and she removed the limitations on registration because the room could hold 600 people. but nobody was turned away at the door. No, not at all.
It was my understanding that if you went online to register, the fact that we had to register was a question mark for me anyhow, but the fact that I had a couple calls from a few people that went online to register and the registration had closed. Or sold out, I guess, was the wording.
That's the app that we use, that you don't pay anything to come to these sessions. It's just a way of knowing the numbers, so we know how many chairs to set out, how much coffee to buy, how much is the interest. I mean, that's a way of us tracking the numbers of interest. It's not meant to dissuade people. Yeah, I've had a number of people who said that, and that clearly wasn't the way that I understood the registration went.
Yeah, I think you can continue, Claude. I don't see any other questions at this point.
So after consulting with the Pilots Association, neighbors, Transport Canada, Alberta Highways, the current layout is what we are applying to the AUC. We have, this is what was published, will be published at the AUC, but what was published showed we had set back solar on the west side of the road adjacent to an abutting neighbor. And they came to us and said, "You're destroying our view. My husband wants to sit on the porch and watch the traffic go by." And so we pulled that entire section out. So that's why this layout is different from the one that was published for the open house. This is what will be submitted to the AUC. As well, the section that is A1 had put a required setback on the north side, A1, A2, where the pilots had requested a setback from the runway. And at the meeting, the pilots said, "Would you mind taking the remainder of that section going north out of there in case we ever extend the runway?" And so we did that too. We gave up 3 megawatts of capacity to appease the abutting landowners or to satisfy them. So I believe that those two, from a land use point of view and from a setbacks, that those requests have been satisfied. The current layout also addresses the particular glint and glare issues. So we've chosen to use 2 technologies to address that. On the circuit flight paths, where the pilots circle the area, B1, A2, and Area D at the top are using a billboard style layout. So the panels are vertical, straight up and down. And B1 and A1 will be single axis tracking. So they will follow the sun east to west. By using the vertical panels, we've actually expanded the row spacing to allow for us to hay the fields if we need to, or if we have a desire to, but also it was to remove the glint glare from the issues list that the pilots had. So currently, the pilots had sent us a letter, I believe that was sent from on special areas letterhead that basically listed a number of concerns that they had. We've addressed all of those concerns on the list that they published to us. Now, does that mean that everyone at the airport is happy? I don't know. I don't believe so. But at the meeting, or at a previous meeting when we presented these results to the pilots group, sorry, was there a question?
Yes, there is.
Let's call point of order, please.
Go ahead.
Is 15 minutes is up.
Delegations are different.
different.
He's applied and got an appointment, so.
Council shall hear all delegations that have brought their terms of business onto the agenda in the order in which they are placed. All rules of council in this bylaw shall apply to each member of the delegation. Delegation shall have 15 minutes for presentation. That's 3.59 bylaw.
So do you not want to hear the presentation, I guess is my question.
I'd like to have a call for a vote, see if the rest of the council wants to.
Okay, All in favor of continuing with closed presentation? Opposed? Motion carried. Carry on closed.
Am I to carry on or stop?
Yeah.
Yep, carry on.
Well, I appreciate the lesson in municipal governance. I've never actually had this happen before in my life. I had received no direction that I had 15 minutes. And in the multiple presentations that I've made to preceding councils and this council, no one has ever mentioned that before. So thank you for the education. The pilot's concerns, the next slide is what we heard. So the next series of slides will address what we heard in our consultation. The list that the pilots supplied to us that they wanted us to address is before you. And we have
One more
addressed all of
slide.
those. Slide number 5, please. Yes. So
Can I,
there,
Councilor Olson.
one quick question, Claude, has there been another Clinton glare report since the last one? Or just,
there has not been a new Glint glare study as far as I know.
okay, so there's
Yes.
still 2
Yeah.
hours a day of yellow glare?
No, there's no yellow glare at all, period,
There's 0 yellow glare on all circuits?
on all circuits.
And there has been another report, because the one report that you gave the pilot certainly didn't say that.
I'll be happy to furnish the pilots. In fact, we're submitting to the AUC the final glint glare analysis. I will ask Rhonda to send the final glint glare study to them, as well as the results of the turbulence, mechanical turbulence on small aircraft study that's being done by JetPro.
Okay.
We've addressed, and we'll stay waiting for that report. They asked us for a terrain map, a contour map of the site to take into consideration elevation changes over the site. And we created that and supplied that to them a week ago to JetPro, and now we're waiting for the results. When we have those results, we will certainly meet with the pilots group again and address that. And if they, and we can review the glint glare results with them again.
One question, please.
That report is going to be presented this month, or the end of this month, or by the end of the month.
Yes.
Question was, yeah. Okay.
Has to be complete and in an acceptable format in order to submit it to the AUC.
Very close.
So the other things that we heard were view impact, property devaluation, dust and garbage, fire and safety, decommissioning, loss of agricultural lands, wind gust and turbulence from the solar array, which I said we were addressing through study, and requests for community funding. So on the issue of the pilot's concerns, I don't want to read this slide, but this is a list of concerns that they gave to us, and the statement is that pace.
Go back for it. Yeah. Okay. Keep going, bud.
Yes, next slide, slide number 6. So the conclusion of the pilot's concerns is the statement at the bottom. PACE agrees that any changes to the layout, size, and panel type of the solar farm will comply with the conditions described herein. Both PACE and the Alberta Utilities Commissions are 2 mechanisms that will remain in place should any aviation safety issues arise. So we've solved for no glint and glare. This is conservative modeling. Real life conditions, something may arise that we haven't considered, but this statement is what the pilots requested that we make as part of our conditions of development permit, and we agree with it. We're not interested in creating human safety issues or equipment safety issues. The next slide is on the use of agricultural lands. And when we look at the use of agricultural lands, this is one of the themes that I addressed today in my presentation to the AUC. And in that presentation, this slide, the information of this slide, I wasn't allowed to present any information, only speak to it. But the essence of my speech was this: we have, and there is a typo on this slide. It should be 50,000, not 500,002 acres. It's 50,000 acres. So several studies that have been done on the amount of impact of solar to achieve the energy needs of the province of Alberta from renewable energy, specifically solar. And in order to achieve the current electricity consumed within Alberta, we would have to impact 1% of the agricultural land. The real issues for the loss of agricultural land are not solar and wind, both being relatively newer industries. For example, over 70% of the native grasslands in Alberta have been lost to urban expansion, highways, and oil and gas development. We're not the culprit in the loss of agricultural lands or in grazing native grasslands. Point that I'm trying to make, the point that I'm trying to make here is that the hype around.
Yeah, keep going, Claude.
With your comment, sorry.
Carry on, Claude.
I know even the loss of 1% is important, which is why we've adopted the strategy of continuing active farming in the land that we impound or that we encumber. And that program is done through agrivoltaics, which I've demonstrated on previous consultations. And the 3 projects that we have built recently all have farm plans associated with continued agricultural activity. And the 3 sites that we have are actually going to continue to be farmed by the resident farming family that signed the lease. The farm plan for.
Oh, Pam,
I'm sorry,
Councilor Bowden.
When you mentioned that 1%, I think being that we are in an agriculture community, I think we're more concerned with what is going to affect us directly versus the whole province and the agriculture land is, if it was built on something that is not agriculture, has the ability to produce a crop or whatever, that I think is more of a concern than how much total agricultural land in the province. It's within that area that any of this production is going to directly impact, whether it's and assuming that sheep and goats or something might be on it in a beef area. I don't know, it's just, we might get used to it, but I'm not sure we will, or to be forced on it and stuff, so.
Not supposed to be livestock in town limits. Another bylaw. Sheep not classed as livestock.
Most, can I address these issues or are we going to go on to another question?
Go ahead,
Well,
Claude.
I'd like to have that question answered.
Yeah, he's going to answer the question for you.
So one thing you have to understand is you can control farming activities within the municipal boundary, and you can limit livestock being grazed there. But why would you? If your stated objection is that agriculture doesn't continue, why would you object to what the landowner does with regards to what animals they graze?
I think that should be up to the majority of the town.
No, it's not. It is
Or you-
absolutely not to the majority of the town. It is landowner rights, which are enshrined in the Alberta civil rights, if you want to call it. I can't remember the exact actual act, but the civil rights legislation gives landowners the right for the quiet enjoyment. And that definition of quiet enjoyment is whatever activity that doesn't destroy somebody else's quiet enjoyment from their site. So you'd have to prove that agricultural grazing, and in most communities, and I can name 2 of them right now where there are no animals grazed within the town limits, but they always grandparent, former term being grandfather, what the farmer has been doing with that site. So atypically on this site, they have been grazing cattle, still graze cattle, and nobody has objected to it or demanded by bylaw that they don't graze animals there.
There hasn't been cattle on there for the last 10 years.
No, that's not true. There have been cattle out there. The Hutterites have grazed cattle out there. They hayed the land out there several years ago. So
Hay is different than grazing.
Whether or not somebody chooses to graze animals is up to the individual that has the surface rights and owns the land. You have to understand that.
It's a bylaw of the town.
And the bylaw will prohibit us grazing, and we won't be allowed as a farming activity to graze animals there. And so I go back to the point that you're making about continuing agricultural activity. This land is class 3 with severe conditions and soil types, so you're limited to the agriculture that you can do. One of them is to graze, the other is to hay. Both have been done in recent years, and our intention is to continue those practices actually more intensively. That's why we take soil samples and we employ a PAG to tell us what the farm program will be on this site, what is acceptable. We design solar systems to allow for animals to continue to graze on this site. We're working on a cattle grazing system that elevates the single axis tracking system up so that it is out of the boundaries of cattle that are grazing. We do controlled grazing inside of the site, which allows us to move the cattle around on the single axis tracking area and keep the single axis tracking in tabletop mode while the animals are grazing, so they don't interfere with the panels, which is the critical part. The farm plan for agrivoltaics was actually the recommended practice for lands that were going to have solar built on them by the consultant that was hired by the AUC to create recommendations of how to reduce the loss of agricultural lands. They actually have taken a book right out of our development plan. We have hired 2 biologists. One of them happens to be the same biologist that the AUC engaged. I had nothing to do with that. They just hired the person they thought was the most appropriate, and his name is Stephen Tanis Conservation. He works out of Cremona. You can go to his website and see his credentials. Couldn't ask for a better person to provide us with agricultural advice and a farm plan for lands in central Alberta. We've also hired a senior wildlife biologist and a soil scientist as a strategic sustainable development advisor. This woman is a former bird scientist from Canadian Wildlife Services. She ended her career as the director of Canadian Wildlife Services. She is a bird bat biologist and expert in soil microbiology and soil conditions. And so she is monitoring our obligations under the Wetlands Protection Act, the soil erosion issues if they develop, which we don't anticipate because we're not stripping the soils at all. She is monitoring our obligations to monitor bird, bat, carcass surveys. She is looking after the auditing of all the data on soil conditions and is producing us an annual audited statement that says, this is what's happening on all your sites with regards to your farm plans and with regards to your undertakings to Alberta environment and protected areas. One of the things that came out of our consultation was, who holds you accountable? So we have hired an expert who is a consultant to monitor and prepare us a report on each of our sites. That is slide number 8.
May I have that name and contact for that person, please?
Rhonda Milliken.
So Claude, maybe,
That's not the consultant that you hired.
Unfortunately, it just happens to be that Rhonda must have been a popular name in that 10 years.
so I guess my question, Claude, is tomorrow, maybe if you could email me the contact names of those people in those positions, then I can forward that on to council.
Absolutely happy to do that.
Thank you.
Next slide is slide number 9, decommissioning. So the AUC, sorry, I've had quite a long day and I'm quite tired, and I wanted to have this opportunity to speak to council, given the desire for council to take action. The decommissioning slide basically is a regurgitation of the information that we've given in previous sessions. This is written right into the lease document between us and the landowner, which actually is filed with the AUC. We're not obligated to file this document because it is a private contract. We white out the name of the individual under freedom of information and protection of personal information. But this is essentially what is in the lease. And it states that we will put up cash-backed securities that by year 30 will have generated $35,000. It's a simple spreadsheet analysis. I'm happy to share you the spreadsheets with you. Per the rules of municipal taxation and looking at the salvage value of an asset that is worth $1.5 million in day one, according to the provincial tax assessor's office, we would have 25% of the original value, which gives us literally 5 times the required amount to decommission this project. The letters of credit are negotiated, in this case, with the Price family and the Royal Bank of Canada and the owner of the project. So if we perchance sold this project to someone else, the LC would go to the cash that's on deposit as a physical asset to the solar system, and it would go with that project to the naming the prices and continuing on the process. If we fail in our decommissioning obligation, or the current owner, which is who might be 30 years from now, then the landowner has to, or the landowner, the municipality, or whoever owns the site may choose to undertake the work, in which case the fund funds that work. In our lease, it also states that every 5 years we will update the capital required to decommission the site and make sure that our letters of credit are sufficient to cover that cost. Oh, and let's say, surprise, surprise, Echo Venture, the expert that was hired by the AUC to detail how decommissioning might be funded of all the possible ways, literally quoted this as one of the options. To us, it is the most preferred because I've said before, anything else is based, even the way oil and gas companies are assessed with the amount of money that they have and the amount of wells that they can abandon or need to abandon, is based on a credit analysis of the company. And the worse the credit, the more they have to decommission and the more money they have to pour into it, which makes their financial situation worse. And in the case of a very large oil and gas company that used to belong to an even bigger oil and gas company, is now sitting in front of the AUC on a essentially, you're going to dump another 4,000 wells into the Orphan Well Association. Bonding does not work. So this is cash and the value of the equipment, which has an assessed value that is in place. That is our decommissioning plan. It names the landowner and is transferred with the asset if it is ever sold and transferred. The next slide, slide number 10, fire and safety. Is there a question?
No, keep going.
So fire and safety, the incident of fire is extremely low. The control of grass fires is to have healthy biomass that's controlled underneath it. If a fire does start off a Coke bottle or somebody's cigarette butt, we intend on the outside of our fence to build in a fire break like is normally done on grassland, and we will maintain that. Inside of the project, we have created access points and a road that goes through and around the project that emergency equipment can get to. We have engaged with Hanna's fire chief and deputy fire chief, who have reviewed and approved our draft emergency response plan. Now, some of the miscommunication is people have asked us for an emergency response plan. The AUC actually doesn't ask for us for an emergency response plan. They ask us if we will have one. We will be filing our emergency response plan to the AUC, exceeding their requirements. With regards to dust and garbage, all construction sites are dusty. We will limit this through our contractor that we employ, which will have dust control measures in place during construction. There is very little dust from these sites, and I speak from the experience of building several projects where grass is, healthy grass is maintained underneath it. And as a result, the limitations of dust will be an issue. We will maintain that site during construction. We have obligations that we impose on the contractors. And once construction activities start, we're putting up a 6-foot chain link fence where any of the garbage that's generated on the site, we maintain a very, very clean site on our construction projects. Again, it's something we pass on to the EPC and make them do with our project manager. And that fence should gather most of the impounded garbage if it does blow around. So we don't expect a large amount of garbage to come from this project.
Okay, one question for you, Councillor Kroll.
I'd like to go back to fire and safety. There is not a retardant to extinguish these panels if they do start on fire. So what's your solution to that?
Oh, 1 second, we gotta go, so go ahead, Claude.
The panels are non-combustible. They're not a fuel source. They're bifacial glass. The only thing that can combust on the panel from an exterior source is the small diameter DC cabling on the back, which is coated in rubber.
Okay, what about a material that is used inside the sealed panels that is not allowed in Canada in its raw form? What about that material? That's non-retardant. Once it's ignited, it cannot be put out.
Fire needs oxygen. There's no oxygen between the two glass panels.
What if there's a hailstorm?
Then the insurance will cover the replacements.
I'm not worried about the replacement. I'm worried about the environment.
You have to address a specific environmental question. You're asking, if you're worried about contamination of the soils from the solar panels, there is none. That's why we have an environmental monitor. That's why we take soil samples.
What is the restricted product you're talking about?
There's a product in between that's sealed in between the panels.
What is it?
I don't know. I don't know the product. I don't manufacture them, but I know it's been.
Well, I literally just reviewed the specifications from the testing lab of the potential for contamination to the soils of any of the materials that are used in our current long E panels. That's what we use. If we used a different panel, we would go through the same testing analysis. And there is no human health risk from the use of these panels on site over the 30-year period. And if a fire starts, it's going to damage the panels from smoke and warping and cracking, but they will not be consumed. It's the grass. It's going to destroy the array, so it'll be covered by fire insurance, which we maintain. It's an obligation for us to maintain all hazard risk, including hail, as part of our undertaking, and we have to provide that proof of insurance annually to the landowner.
Councillor Kroll, if you could find out what that restricted product is, then we could take it back to Claude and discuss it with him.
I would be happy to look at it. There is misinformation out there. I suggest that you go to peer-reviewed sources as opposed to anything that's on social media and or in most cases the web. You need to go back to government-sponsored studies or university peer-reviewed articles. The fire risk on a solar farm from anything in the solar farm is relatively minor. It uses electrical, so there's always the potential for electrical fires. But as a fuel source to a fire, such as a grass fire or a lightning strike, there's nothing that adds fuel to the fire.
So Claude, is there someone employed full-time on site or around the site?
The sites are visited once a month and as needed if something fails. The next slide is property values. Sorry, I should finish off my statement. I know, I apologize again. I didn't finish my comments there. But essentially, the information that's out there is that there are heavy metals from the solar panel that over time, as the panels degrade, leach off onto the site. That is a potential with what's called thin film solar. No developer that I know of in Alberta, and certainly not us, uses thin film technologies. They are designed for bus stops and shelters and curved surfaces and airplanes and boats. They are actually 3D printed with heavy metal circuitry like cadmium telluride onto a sheet of plastic that is formable to other surfaces. It is very expensive, and over time, the exposed circuitry on the plastic does leach off, but that is not a technology that we're using, and it is not a technology that I have seen anyone else use, because it is 4 times the price, at least, of commercial PV. On the property values issue, again, it's an issue before the AUC. They actually have dealt with it before on the Brooks Solar hearing. I suggest, if you're interested in seeing the results of that, what has been postulated is that building a solar farm devalues abutting properties. What the research, including a paper that summarized over 500,000 properties, was that if anything, there is a marginal 1 to 2%, usually occurring immediately during the construction and slightly after, when people are agitated. There is no proof out there at all from the data that is collected. There are individual sites where there are differing results, but as a whole, there is less than 2.5% difference in real estate prices before and after. That's what the literature says. It's on our website. You can review it. It's also what the AUC found when they did their own research at the AUC. It's also what Elemental Energy put in front of them to the county. The current work at the AUC is to determine whether or not this is a real or a perceived issue. And at this point in time, given the fact that there are quite a few properties that are abutting it that could potentially suffer from this, given the fact that there's a 6-foot high chain link fence, and if it does become a problem, one of the ways that we manage this is with vegetative screening, planting trees and shrubs and bushes to limit the impact of the view on the property. This is something that's being studied and researched at the AUC right now. They actually commissioned a third expert. I can't remember the name of the company, but it's on the AUC website for the Module A consultation. And their conclusions came to this, that anything under 5% is not statistically relevant. There could be many other things. That's not my words, that's their words. So the jury's still out on this one, but the AUC will decide whether or not there's a real property value issue or a perceived one. Some factors that can offset negative impacts. One of the first things that offsets negative impacts, and the ones that I have read, is whether or not the community is supportive. If the community is not supportive, then there's a group of people in the community that are disaffected and won't buy a home near or adjacent to a solar farm. However, the economic benefits to the community, to this community, are far in excess of that potential decline. What we are doing as part of maintaining, that's a postulation. Let me describe how we're going to verify that assumption. So we've engaged with a realty consultant in Hanna, and we're going to engage with the tax assessor contractor, or the firm that does your tax assessment in the community. And we're going to ask for a multi-year before we're built report on property valuation in and around that consultation zone of 800 meters. And we will track the sales through the real estate agent, and we will track the devaluation that occurs on the tax bills. That's the only 2 ways that we can do this, to come up with quantifiable data that we are not impacting real estate values as significantly as people postulate. You literally can find anything on the web to support your position. Is it based on empirical data? Has it been reviewed by people who do not have a vested interest in what the data says? And those peer-reviewed reports are on our website. The AUC will be addressing this post-abeyance order, probably through the same methodologies that we're supporting. Unfortunately, the contractor, the expert that was hired to do the impact on view shed and property devaluation, did not propose any solutions. What he proposed was a make work project for himself or for somebody like him. We propose to look at community data. This is one of the things that the community consultation surfaces. And that is, in fact, that the data from somebody else's site, if it's in Ontario or Michigan or California or the Netherlands, is not relevant because it's not in our community and it's not in Alberta or it's not in the county. Well, there's very few solar farms that have been built. And so we need to, in the earliest stages, collect this data to build the better mousetrap the next time around. So those are undertakings that we are herewith stating to council that should this project be built, we will be tracking this issue with local resources and local data. The next slide is the typical solar farm process. We've showed you this bar chart, or this balloon chart, I should say, early on. And the things that we have in progress are in gray. Those that are not started are in blue. And the green is, in fact, things that have been completed. The crossing agreements will be completed by the time we are in construction. The permitting actually includes the municipal dev permit process or the zoning application, which we haven't concluded, nor will we conclude until after the AUC process. The community involvement program continues officially 1 year after we're constructed. So it's ongoing. And the ASO connection study has literally come back and said to us, we have no concerns. In fact, we got this message this week. They have no concerns with connecting to the grid. And in actual fact, they've studied it to such an extent that they're advancing the schedule by 4 months because they don't require us to continue to do studies that we've already done. We did these studies before we actually even made the connection. So the studies have been done, but they were done by us and submitted to ATCO and to the ASO, and their engineers verified that the assumptions that ATCO Integrated Services is a division of ATCO that we hired to do those studies. Basically, the ASO agreed with them. So the project manager this week said that Harvest Sky 1 is moving from stage 2 to stage 3, which still requires us to continue to do studies, but that we're advancing because the studies were completed. So this deals with
I got one question from the floor here. Councilor Kroll.
Can I finish? Thank you.
So
So this,
No, I got a question here. For 1 second, please.
You got
Okay.
Clinton Glarus completed. We haven't seen or heard anything about the third report. So how can you have it in green?
agree, right off the bat, I cannot hear him.
Okay, the glint and glare, you have it in green. It's not completed. You haven't got your third report. To present change.
It has been completed, and we have solved the glint glare issue. That's why it's in green. I'm happy to supply you with the most current.
Why is there a third report being done?
Councilor Kroll, you need to talk to Val.
I don't.
I've already agreed to supply the most recent glint glare study to you, which is what we're filing with the AUC. It has been completed. It has solved for the glare issues. It has been circulated to Alberta Transportation, who requires us to do this. So both the AUC and Alberta Transportation will look at our glint glare studies. NAV Canada will look at our glint glare studies. So thank you. So crossing agreements, those are executed as part of the construction process. One of the pieces of information that needs to be detailed is with those that have pipelines that we need crossing agreements or road use agreements. So we'll be signing a road use agreement with the municipality. Those are the types of agreements that are negotiated at the time of construction. There's no point in negotiating a road agreement if we can't get a DEV permit. So final engineering and design is going to take place after the AUC. We have not submitted the AUC application. We are trying to get it done by December 31st, subject to having the studies completed for the pilots to solve for the turbulence. That's the remaining study that hasn't been completed, but we're on the timescale of JetPro. We don't have any control over that resource as far as asking for it to be done sooner rather than later. So a couple of things that I wanted to put in here, and I didn't have a time to put it in the slide, but I'm quite sure that nobody will let me forget this. We had a pilot's request that we fund a $5,000 a year bursary to them. Well, we're going to quadruple that. We're going to contribute $20,000 a year to either an agency such as the Prairie Crocus Foundation, which will contribute to any project within the area that we designate. So we'll designate that this money must be used within the town of Hanna. So the community benefits agreement will be executed with the foundation, and the town of Hanna and or its community groups will have access to that, and we will track how that money is spent every year. And so that makes it very simple for us to create a community benefits agreement. If the town would prefer that we simply write once a year a check to your general fund for you to use for recreational projects or social programs, we're happy to do with that. That can be detailed in the conditions of the development permit. Last but not least, sorry.
Sounds like a bribe to me. That's what I'm talking.
Well, carry on.
Well, I'm sorry you see it that way. One of the things that we have been asked during the consultation is what benefits are there to the community. And so under regulations like the small scale generator regulation or the community solar program, the government suggests that in order to benefit from those regulations, that a community benefits agreement be executed with the community. So if what you're saying is you don't want the money, then we will simply donate it to the Crocus Foundation and not stipulate that it goes to the town of Hanna. It's our intention to give back to the communities that host us. If there's some other sum that the town feels is appropriate, it's not meant as a bribe. It is meant as business practice with a number of communities, including the communities of Innisfail, which have community benefits agreements with Elemental. The county of Newell has community benefits agreements that they get every year. So this is a practice that's encouraged by government as well as by the industry and by the municipalities. It's not meant as a bribe. It was actually a response to the pilots group who requested a bursary, and we didn't feel it was appropriate for us to designate within the community who was to receive monies from this community benefits fund. So the next slide is questions and answers. Any additional questions?
Councilor Olson.
Sure, I've got one, Claude. You talked a lot about risk mitigation. I'm gonna have to speak to the Glen and Glare report. I harassed the pilots to see if that's the only way I got it. And there was, the one that I saw had 120 minutes a day of yellow glare, potential yellow glare on the circuits run. So for risk mitigation, I get how, you feel that's mitigated. Me as a community member around that airport, there's a reason why there's no, that I'm aware of, there's no solar array of that size, no farm of that size within this vicinity of an uncontrolled aerodrome. And that's my concerns. There's obviously reasons for that. Has there ever been discussion of, several miles of copper to tie into the same transfer station for total risk mitigation to our asset like the airport? Or is that a full stop due to cost?
I'm sorry, you broke up there for a minute. Can you repeat the last couple of statements?
I'll see if I can remember my rambling. The fact that a solar array of that size does not exist within the close proximity, anything I'm aware of, or any other pilot can find, of an uncontrolled aerodrome like Hanna. So the risk mitigation of running several miles of copper to move it away and protect our asset, has that ever been considered? Or is that a full stop for costing?
Well, when you look at risk mitigation, you end up increasing the cost of the project. That's one consideration, but it's not our driver. The issue is you still end up with miles and miles away from the airport, where unless you take steps to use technology and science and design to remove that risk mitigation, all you're doing is moving it further down the road. We've looked at the south of the highway, we've looked at north, because the pilots fly quite a swath of circuit pathway. Even if we didn't build adjacent to the airport, we'd still have to solve for these glint glare issues. So why not solve for them where the best site with the least environmental impact occurs? On land that's brought into the municipality for development.
I see no way where the risk would be anywhere similar if it was 5 miles away.
Because we've looked at it with the glint glare analysis and we have the similar glint glare issues.
And in my mind, 2 hours of yellow glare a day is not insignificant in my mind, but I guess we each have our own opinions.
Well, again, our undertaking is before we file with the AUC is to review the glint glare analysis and the turbulence impact with the pilots group and come out of there with what we hope is a reasonable agreement. They are a stakeholder group. We've consulted with them. They've been very reasonable in their approach to us. We've tried to be responsive to their concerns. But both in Canada and the United States, building solar as part of infrastructure around airports is actually encouraged. You have to manage it with math and science.
I would love it if you could find a similar situation of an uncontrolled airspace like we have.
I love a challenge. If this comes up as a question to the AUC, we'll have to address that with research, but I will take it upon myself to see if I can find several projects for you.
Any other questions? Brent?
Claude, my name is Brent Olson. I just want you to make sure, I don't know who you got your facts from. But I just want you to get your documents right. I am the deputy chief and I have not seen any emergency response plan. I have talked to my chief. He has not seen any emergency response plan. You have been trying to reach to Rob Palmer, who is the fire chief for special areas. And we have been trying to reach a meeting to talk about the Sureness plan, but there's been nothing brought to us here. So I don't have any personal investment other than if you're gonna do your paperwork, make sure, I mean, we would love to see it, but we have not seen it yet.
I'll make sure that Rhonda gets it to you the next day.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilor Murphy?
I can't respond to what Rhonda has done. She created these slides, so I have to believe that she followed through on this. I was not party to those conversations. I know that she was in touch with Rob and that her desire was to get the emergency response plan to you. She may be confused between special areas and the town of Hanna. I will make sure that doesn't occur, and I'll make sure that you get a copy of the emergency response plan.
Right, and that's all I'm saying is if you want your facts on your paper.
Yes.
We work very well together. In fact, on my department, he is a captain, so we work very well together and we know that there's a Sureness project. And we have had some communication, my fire chief and special areas has, but there's been nothing forwarded about the town of Hanna or this project to us.
I'll review this with Rhonda tomorrow when I see her. She may have misconstrued the roles and responsibilities of the emergency response team in special areas and Hanna, thinking that she was consulting with the right authorities.
Okay, but again,
Thank you,
sir,
thank you. I will correct the document and I will follow up by making sure that you get a copy of it.
there's still been no meeting. So, okay, no, that's
I
good,
will
thank you.
take that, I will take that comment out of the presentation. Thank you for the correction.
Council Murphy?
So a couple of things have me obviously concerned. We've got you very confidently saying no glint and glare issues. It's in this document. Then the emergency response plan, it's in the document. It's a done deal very confidently, and it's a wash. So I'm concerned about what else is in the document. Now, I know we're not AUC. You made it very clear that everything you're doing is for AUC. But if you don't have the support of the town of Hanna, council, and the representatives that are here, it's a concern. So how can I trust this document when two of the major issues that you brought up are potentially incorrect? I'm concerned. So if we can have a correct document that's accurate, I know you're tired. I'm sorry you're tired, but we're tired too. We're
Yeah.
tired. Every single meeting, the information's changing. Every single meeting, you come in like a bull in a china shop a little bit, a little hubris, and then whoops, we've got the deputy fire chief right here. Never met with him. Not only did they not approve the fire plan, you haven't met with them. So now it's Rhonda's fault. I'm cranky, so just to let you know, I hope it gets fixed, Claude, but
My
right now.
comment, Counselor, was that I can't tell you what communication took place. I'm reading from what Rhonda prepared. I take full accountability for what my team does. The corrective action is to make sure the right people are consulted and the right documents are supplied. That's the measure of effective consultation. So
Yeah.
if we make a
We're
mistake and the
that a little
assumption,
bit right now. Yeah. We're just missing a little bit.
So
of
how
that
is this
conversation.
Oh,
project?
hang on, Councilwoman has her hand up.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a concern with the accuracy as well. It seemed, every time we turned around, the legals were wrong.
Yeah.
Our land was included in the report as part of the project, when in fact, we had nothing to do with it. And it is just a bit of a concern when, to me, the basics of the actual, land, ordinance and legals and that sort of thing are mistaken. And that affects my confidence in the other stuff that might be more substantial as well. I was also wondering, you guys were involved in the Youngstown solar farm.
yes, it's our project.
So I guess there was concerns about it being powered up. When it first, that were kind of, I don't know, discussed in amongst some other individuals. And my understanding was is when it was first fired up then, that it blew the lines and started a fire. And so I'm just wondering, what is the guarantee that our substation is going to be still intact if this does go through, and if the power is turned on? Is that going to have a bearing on our confidence of having a regular and consistent access to electricity without impacted from a solar farm?
So the answer is that the equipment that failed was not us. It was ATCO's wires, which are 60 years old. They're under-designed. They told us they were designed for the load. We in fact reduced the project size from 8 megawatts to 6 megawatts during the design phase to get us well under the thermal limits of the equipment. The equipment is 60 years old. ATCO's line broke And when it broke, it started a grass fire. It wasn't at our facility. The damage to us was that for nearly a month and a half, we could not generate any electricity. We had to bring in standby generators to power up our instruments to keep the inverters warm, for example. And ACO took nearly a month and a half to get resources and equipment out there to fix it. It's a failure of a system that is old, and they don't actually use that conductor anymore. So to repair it, they put the proper conductor in place from our equipment, from our point of interconnection to the substation. That work is now complete, and the solar farm is operating again. There was statements at the public session that ACO employees, that ACO employees said that the system was overwhelmed by our solar. That's a complete fabrication. I don't know where it came from. The person who made it didn't quantify it. That's the problem. I went back to ACO, the vice president of ACO, and said, is this what your ACO would say? And the comment was, no. Can you find out where it came from? So I have no idea where you're getting your information from, but it was not a failure of our equipment. Our solar array did not cause it. It was a failure of 60-year-old equipment.
But, and I guess I'm not blaming your equipment. I guess it's the process of it being connected to an old system. And I guess there's a potential for that same thing to happen to ours. And how, you know, I'm not sure how long Youngstown was without power. If they were, I don't know.
Youngstown itself was not without power. It was downstream from that. I don't know who was affected on the rural circuit pathway, what oil and gas facilities were outed. All I know is that we couldn't connect for the last kilometer and a half to get to the substation.
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted some information regarding that.
Councilor Waller?
Claude, I'm just concerned that, you had mentioned that, this project has been advanced by a certain time frame, several months, and yet all these measures have not been completed properly. So I guess in a professional capacity, how does that happen?
My statements are that during the public consultation, there was some concern about the ability of the system to absorb the electricity. So the current studies that are going on at the ASO with ACO basically stipulated that there is no difficulty with the system absorbing the amount of power that we're going to propose for it. The difference between this project and Youngstown is that we are connecting right at the substation. We are putting a breaker in to disconnect the project. So our wires are brand new to the substation. It's our system that connects, and ACO is putting the equipment in their substation, and their equipment in their substation. The substation is quite capable of taking the power, and it's a 69 or 72 kV, depending on what designation you go with. So it's a much higher transmission class of voltage as opposed to the smaller 8 kV systems that we tie to in Youngstown.
So Claude, I don't know if you heard Councilor Warwick's question, but I'll have her repeat it again because it was a little bit different than what your answer was.
Sure.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with the Youngstown. You had mentioned in an earlier comment that this project had been advanced by 2 or 3 or 4 months. And I'm just wondering how that is possible when all the measures that have just been indicated here have not been completed.
Sure, I'll be happy to clarify that. The ASO is only concerned with the electrical connection and the reliability of the grid. The AUC, Alberta Utilities Commission, is concerned with all the other matters. The electrical connection is the ASO. All the other studies are submitted to the AUC. You can't file at the AUC until you've achieved the completion of stage 2. So what I was saying was that we have now advanced past stage 2 because of the studies that were done that shortened this pathway. That was the ASO's conclusion, not ours. What the comment was meant to address. What the comment
Where does ASO
was,
get their information from? Is that directly from you and your
Nope.
team?
no, it's actually from ATCO. ATCO Distribution. We actually aren't, you know, in the case of connecting to the ASO, we're not actually the applicant to connect the project, ATCO is. We are simply a project manager observer, providing them with the electrical specifications of our systems and our inverters, for example. The comment was meant to underscore comments from the public that basically said something akin to the fact that the substation wasn't capable of taking the power.
So just in regards to ATCO, do they hire, is that local ATCO employees that are, providing this information and the completion of these studies? Or is that somebody, externally that they're bringing in to do some of this work?
No, in fact, it's ATCO's own engineers, regulated utility engineers, who are familiar with the system. They operate it. With regards to employees, I have no idea what local employees they use, what linesmen. I suspect that the conversation about our equipment causing the failure was somebody at ATCO, potentially, who is a linesman or a journeyman electrician. Certainly didn't come from engineering or management.
Any other questions?
Ask them both,
If you have questions, ask them now, please. With the scaled back project load, what would the tax base be towards the town?
I'd be happy to get Altus to prepare you a proposed tax statement based on the construction costs. I'd only be guessing at it, but we have reduced it in size. Whether that is linear in reductions, I get myself in so much trouble, as the council has pointed out, by taking in.
That's fine, Flo. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Thank you. Happy to supply that assessment as soon as it is available.
Any other questions? Councilor Bowden?
I just want to thank you for doing your presentation and taking the questions and answering them to your best of your ability. So thank you for doing that.
Appreciate that. One of the things I'd like to say in closing is we've taken potentially some of the misinformation, and again, I apologize for that impact to your community. No one is perfect. I certainly don't claim to be. I like to liken this to an iterative process where we try to understand community needs and create a design that answers and satisfies it, rather than coming in like a steamroller and saying, this is what we're doing. Here you have a chance to comment. We're going to the AUC. We've taken months to go through this. We've tried to address the issues. I'm happy to continue to clarify information. I apologize for any of the mistakes. I certainly am the one that is responsible for our team and for my outcomes. We have taken the information from places like Hanna, where people are less than receptive, and try to change our processes to make our information supply more clear and to be concise. But I will get you the right information, and if I fail to, then by all means, we have shown you how to register as an intervener or as an observer to the AUC. You have that right to pose all these questions. If you're dissatisfied with any of my questions or answers, I should say, or my information or my answers. But I do believe that this is a good project and can help the town of Hanna.
Okay, seeing nothing else, thank you again. Motion is the council, thank the representatives from Pace Canada LP for the presentation and updates on the status of the solar project in town of Hanna corporate limits adjacent to the airport. Motion. Councilor Bozine, sorry. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. On to committee reports. Do we have anything for a full session?
No,
I just looking at the time, trying to figure if we need a leg stretch.
certainly
Sure.
up to you and council if you want to take a few
A
minutes.
quick break?
Sure.
Okay, motion for a quick recess.
I'll see you.
Councilor Carroll. Earl, all in favor? Carried. Peter Administrative, sorry, Community Services Board minutes.
Short, sweet meeting, and most of it was taken up there, going over our, community service grant evaluation. I'll give you guys highlights later on in the meeting. But it was, and then Kaylee there, she brought up some reports, or the youth club and everything is pretty active. Got a few things going throughout December for the kids at school and at the community center. They got movie nights and stuff, so. But most of our meeting was, for the community's grant evaluation. That was basically our meeting, and Kim went over lots of information, which she's already sent out to reports.
Next, Mr. Dell.
Yeah, motion.
Oh, sorry, motion to accept Community Services Board for information. Council Olson, all in favor? Carried.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of updates, just no notification yet on our Prairies Can application for the downtown project. We did submit prior to November 30th an application I moved on to Palliser and Pioneer Trail rehabilitation. So we did submit a grant application to Alberta Transportation under their local municipal initiatives for potential assistance with Pioneer and Palliser Trail paving. We won't probably have a decision until the spring, and generally, we were told not to be too optimistic, that it's a severely oversubscribed pot of money. But we did have it submitted. The other thing I wanted to update is our runway lighting project has Murphy's Law written all over it, so.
Be gentle.
We had the constant current regulator, that piece of electrical equipment we've been waiting for. Got a shipping date, was shipped from Ohio to Toronto. The original plan was Ohio to Toronto, it would be inspected, then it would be shipped to Hanna, be installed right away, probably be done now. It got shipped to Toronto, and in shipping, it got damaged.
Them down Easter.
So it had to be sent back to Ohio. I don't know the piece, but obviously there was some denting on the electrical equipment. So they don't know if it damaged the internal core. So I haven't heard where that's at, other than it had been shipped back to Ohio to be inspected. And if it hadn't damaged anything there, then if the damage was just superficial, they'd fix that up and get it out here ASAP. So I haven't heard the results, but it was getting close. So again, Pioneer Trail Bridge replacement, we have submitted a bridge application. Again, this will be the third time we've submitted. And I would be surprised if we get a decision, before the spring of 2024. We do have both the Pioneer and Palliser road work and the Pioneer Trail Bridge replacement tentatively slated in our 2025 capital projects.
I'm going to speak.
Yeah, that's my couple.
I noticed that there's a sign, as you're going over the bridge, going north. Is there any, value in putting, like limiting the weight on that road?
We're not required to at this point in time.
The sign is because somebody ran into the guardrail.
Yeah, there was a mishap there this
This
morning.
morning.
Was there?
So
But
it's gonna
that
be
just-
fixed tomorrow.
But I was just wondering if that would be.
No, it's
something that
part
would
of
be
the
considered
inspection.
to-
So when the bridge was inspected this fall, if they that'll be the next step. If we don't get funding to fix the bridge
It will be
and
ready.
it continues to deteriorate, it'll get to a point where Alberta Transportation will say, we need to limit the weight on that bridge.
That's what they did on the Carroll side bridge.
But we're not there yet.
That wouldn't lengthen the lifetime of it?
I don't think so. Most of the damage, again, being a layperson, most of the damage that's there is just the corrosion of the steel and the concrete, underneath the girders. It's nothing to do with the weight on it. It's all, corrosion and stuff being in the water. So those grant applications have been submitted. Nothing yet on water sewer servicing, hoping by the end of the year, for the new, bus shop. Other than that,
What is this, so, this, water and sewer, what's this all entail?
so PLRD bought Quinn Templer's shop. It doesn't have water and sewer. So they've asked us as the provider of municipal infrastructure for the community to explore options that potentially they could have water and sewer to those properties.
At whose expense?
Well, first of all, we have to figure out the options, but it would probably most likely, they certainly aren't saying it has to be the towns. Certainly, we would approach them once we have potential options and costs and say that if you want that, this is what it's going to cost. There may be some benefit to us as we move forward on the looping side of coming across from the south, crossing CN to the north to loop our town for the secondary line.
Yep.
So there may be down the road some costs there that we would cost share, but my initial take is that we will provide the options to them. Ultimately, it's our infrastructure for the most part, so we'd have to prove it. But my intention is they would be paying the full allotment of any of those necessary upgrades.
They bought the building knowing that.
No, they did, and that's why they just asked us if there are any options to enhance the level of service that they have. I don't think I have anything else to add. Mr. Mayor, we've been looking at budget options, so we will be sitting down with you, I guess, Thursday night to talk about 2024 operating capital budgets. But other than that, unless there's any other questions on anything, I'll certainly do my best to answer.
What's this closed December 25th crowd?
Yeah. Sorry.
I have a
Councilor
question. It says that you attended the Regional Economic Community Development Tourism and Marketing Group in October. Is there something that came out of that might be of interest or?
I don't know, those are our monthly meetings, so we meet monthly, there's probably 15, 20 people on the line between special areas, Harvest Sky, town, Mark sometimes has some consultants in, so it's just more or less information sharing. I don't know if there's anything there that I could bring forward. There's certainly no decisions made at any of those meetings, so. They're just making sure that, all the staff and people working in the area are up to date on what everyone else is doing, so we're not duplicating, services, so.
Yeah, we had a kind of a discussion this morning with Harvest Sky, seeing if that would be, if there would be an opportunity for, or if that was a kind of something that council wanted to see, whether or not expanding Harvest Sky to include other partners involved or other individuals and such. And, yeah, I guess that would be interesting to find out.
Yeah, so we don't generally have too many discussions that way. Like I said, most of the people around the table are Special Areas Board, Town of Hanna. And Mark sometimes has some consultants who have some work that is being done that he brings them in to provide an update on as to how things are progressing.
And, anything on the Hanna Sheerness Solar Farm?
In regards to, so that was the only thing that I've been involved with Hanna Sheerness has been the community benefits agreement. So I know, Claude talked about community benefits agreement here. So they have a similar, process for the Hanna Sheerness site. That obviously the owner of the land is involved, there. And basically, we put together a group of locals to try and as a bit of a steering committee to figure out how we would move this around. And so we met, virtually last week and the decision from the group was, similar to what we saw happen in Oyen. So Oyen had one of their, wind projects, the land find project, had a community benefits program, and they made a arrangement with the Prairie Crocus Fund and committed $1 million to the Prairie Crocus Fund over a 20-year period for that project. We like that idea, so we basically, our recommendation would be to Westmoreland that that's how we would like to see the community benefits dollars come forward. To the Prairie Crocus Fund with a restriction that it be used for the Hanna region. And they already have their system in place in terms of application processes, reviewers, all, relatively unbiased. And then once that fund is started on an annual basis, our community groups, organizations can apply to it and go through their process. That's why I think Claude mentioned that as a potential for the community benefits agreement. If the solar project went ahead here, that it could be delivered the same way. We just felt rather than setting up another group of people to review projects and applications on an annual basis, we already have that framework in place through Prairie Crocus, so.
And the principal stays and the interest is what's granted out.
It depends on what
format?
what format they have, agreed to with Prairie Crocus.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I don't think, Mr. Mayor, just with, Michelle's and Kevin's, reports, everything's going along normal. Hanna Minor Hockey had a great weekend last weekend with their Hanna Hockey Days. I think that's a fantastic way to bring people to the rink, showcase the arena, showcase the teams, and make some money for their association.
The Calgary tournament was a success as well.
Yeah, it was.
Huge, yeah.
The other thing, just in case you're aware, so we never had pickleball lines painted on our field house court when it was built. So our staff have put them on one court here recently, just to try it out, see how it worked, and it's worked well. So over the Christmas holidays, they're gonna paint the rest of the 3 more courts onto there. But other than that, just basically got a couple of projects in terms of maintenance at the swimming pool. They're painting all the change rooms. And carpet, the Lions Hall, we've bought the material, but we're gonna pull the carpet up over the holidays and install vinyl planks. So, other than that, I think Councilor Thurrow mentioned with Michelle's report too, Skate with Santa is this Sunday. So it is at the arena at 1. Following that, there is a opportunity to meet Santa at the community center, and they are showing a Christmas movie that night. The food security grant, so the province has announced funding for food security. Hanna Food Bank automatically will receive an amount, and other agencies can apply. So we've worked with Lynx, and Lynx is going to apply for, I think if the max is 50,000, they are gonna apply for the full 50,000. As you can see they are wanting to use the funds for their Wednesday lunch program. And, expanding to allow for more community kitchen support. And we've got some dollars, we received some dollars during the pandemic for food security. And with that, the town purchased a number of gift cards from Freeze Brothers and Fresh Market. And we are just about out of those. We've been giving them out primarily. We're not the experts in that, so we have links, has some that they'll give to some clients that are struggling. Some of our people who work with Hanna Family Healthy Families get some, but we are just about out of them. So what we're hoping to do is also tag on some dollars to purchase some more gift cards to the grocery stores that can be handed out to people who are in desperate need. So we'll see how we make out there, but we felt rather than two organizations applying one application with our support, hopefully will be seen and read
Community.
better by those that are making the decisions from the province. So, but I think that's it, unless there's any questions on.
So is Links, and forgive me for my lack
Yeah.
of, Links and Food Bank, are they associated or?
Well, they are, but no.
They're two
The workers
separate
are.
entities.
Yeah, well, I knew they were, but I just
You may
wasn't
have
sure.
the same clientele.
But this grant, this food security grant, a portion of, I think it was a $10 million grant, or $10 million pot, a portion of that automatically gets allocated to all of the food banks.
Okay,
So
that's what I was thinking that they were, those two.
they
were
won't be
gonna-
part of the 50, they'll
Okay,
get whatever they
that's cool
get
then,
based
yeah.
on whatever
Cause I just
criteria.
didn't wanna see 50 going to Links and then cutting our food
No,
banks.
No,
arm off,
there'll be
so
two separate streams of
Yeah.
dollars,
I'm
so,
good with that.
okay.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No, that's a good question.
And Lynx has their food, their meal the same day as Wednesday, Wednesday is the
Yeah.
same day as people go in for any,
Yeah,
food bank stuff, so it kind of is a good,
oh, it's a perfect date
Yeah.
and time to do it, so.
And I think it's a good connection, because Dre did say today, that every Wednesday they have at least 50 people. She said that they have had some donations, but they have on certain days lacked in those donations too. She said it's great when they've had, an event in town and they say, you know, we have 16 containers of chili left over. Do you want it? And they will take it and freeze it. And they've had to use that. So.
Well, an
this-
example of this is, so we had our town Christmas party last week and all the leftovers, we arranged to have taken there for their hot meal program. And I was told they were able to make 20 meal packages out of that.
Mhm.
And I know minor hockey had some leftovers from their minor hockey day concession stuff, and I know that went over there as well. So, but yeah, it's getting to be a bigger program,
Yes.
more costly. And I know DeRay's got some corporate sponsors that have been able to keep them going and keep the program going. And they've received some money through Prairie Crocus as well. And so hopefully they'll be able to tap into this program and get some significant dollars to help keep that program moving forward. So.
She also mentioned that there was a connection there with the Alberta Health Services. They have their monthly meeting or whatever, and they were getting food from there, but she had to say to them that they could no longer provide for their, whatever was going on there, that it had to be solely.
I think
for
they
the-
might have clients or something that they may work with or something.
Well,
like that.
I don't know exactly the
Yeah.
specifications
I
of the
don't know
situation,
either.
but I know that mental health has a drop-in clinic or drop-in time at there. I don't know if it's on that day and time or
It's only, but it's not every week though.
No.
It's only,
once a month, maybe?
I think once a month or
Maybe
once
that's what
every
she
2
said.
weeks.
Oh, okay,
On a Wednesday.
Yeah, I think it's the same time
okay,
or the same day.
okay.
So what they're doing to help fulfill that, if there is a need, is at the end at 1 o'clock or whatever, when the food bank is done.
The food bank starts at 1, but the meal would be done at 1.
So if there's any extra, then they would donate donate at that point in time, just to, yeah, so it was a lot of moving
Yeah,
pieces.
a lot of people use it.
Well, it's nice to find a source or a resource where you can, you know, if you have leftovers after an event, that it can be put to use than to just say you can't do anything.
Well, I was at the food bank today and I was a little bit concerned because I thought I took from a small donation of some ground beef, and I thought, do you have facilities to store it? That was my concern. And, Barbara assured me she was gonna get 500 pounds of ground beef, which she did. And, I thought, holy cow, like, I had no idea about how it all worked and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, she squirreled it away into 3 different deep freezes, and
Yeah,
Well, they'd have probably 2 deep freeze full of turkeys right about now.
they were looking for a couple more turkeys. That's what her goal was, today, so.
for their hamper program.
I
Yeah,
gotta,
she said they were down to 2 they used. That was pretty awesome, so.
I gotta go get potatoes next week, so. For the hampers.
On Michelle's report, I see Drive Happiness is catching a little more.
Yeah, it's slow. We've got some regulars that are quite happy with it. My understanding, the delivery has been a big part of it because the grocery stores don't deliver anymore. So a lot of people will, use it in that regard. But we still, you know, we did have one more new driver completed, but the more drivers we had just means more flexibility the program has, so. And I think, I don't know if she said in here, she does mention food bank, so what they have been doing is they have a volunteer driver who comes to the Wednesday food bank thing, just because there was concern that some of the people don't have transportation, so if they were taking their food allotment, they were not taking the full allotment because they couldn't handle getting it all to their house, but it's been kind of hit and miss. It hasn't been well utilized yet, so we're looking at maybe tweaking that to see if we can find a better solution, so. But that's what the 4 food bank would be, so it would be 4 Wednesdays.
Okay. Lori?
I don't have anything to add this month.
What?
Busy, busy, busy.
It's a busy.
Nice picture. You could have touched up my value a little bit. I'm quite disappointed.
Did you just cut, was that the portrait we had, or did you put us all together like that?
No, that was the picture.
Was it?
I tried to put you together. Take something more training.
I look like I'm expecting twins. I don't know.
I thought the picture was.
Oh my God.
No, somebody likes
What's
more
your phone?
pictures.
I didn't have much play.
See, you didn't look at it, the liar, until he mentioned it.
Oh, I seen everything.
Oh,
Hey, yeah.
so unless council has any questions of me, that's.
No, that's good. Thank you.
Actually, I haven't heard a Christmas thing on the Q91. I've heard there's a couple of others, local businesses on there. I haven't heard ours yet.
Yeah, we did purchase it, but I usually try to get them to do it closer together and the last week.
Okay,
before.
no, it's fine. I just haven't heard ours, so.
And it's the same amount of dollars that we've been doing for, how long have I been working here? So it
Ever.
just doesn't go as far as it used to. Yeah.
Mr. Brent,
Yes, we know that the little star is blinking. Haven't had time to fix it.
just, actually called next to that. He said, how come the town office gets a special star?
We had one fail and we hope to get it down tomorrow.
Kyle, that looked good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've been hoping not to have snow before the holidays, but what I've been having, I would rather not, so I would like some snow. So just to give you an update, what happened on Railroad is we had a small leak to start with, had it fixed by Coffee. It was an old service going over to the elevator. So we had it turned off, and there is clamps that you can buy to put over top, but we don't have any because they're new, but they're not, they're just starting to come out, so we were gonna order some. A day later, 2 days later, small leak right underneath the same area started. So we investigated the valves. The valve by Doug Fortna's had new bolts in it, so we figured no problem. We can shut it down. It's a new valve at the west end. We'll cut it out and put in a piece of pipe and get rid of that section. As we were hydrovacing it, it's flaking off the actual water pipe, so we hit a bad chunk of pipe. So we followed it along till we had a good part. We turned the valve down. We got to the last turn and it popped and water comes up the valve.
Oh, stem count.
Which was a surprise to us. Although the bolts were changed out 21 years ago, so that valve is in there longer. 21 years ago, we put stainless
Like
steel
the
valves in it. Usually what happens then, our biggest fear was the valve has rotted off, because we have some that have corroded so bad. And then to shut that down, we would have had to, looking at our records, there was about 5 we were gonna have to try. 3 we knew would work, the other 2 we weren't sure. So, when we got the pipe fixed, we opened the valve, the leak quit at the valve, slowed down, didn't quit. We thought we had it fixed at the other end. The next morning, the leak showed up, another leak. So we left it go over the weekend because it didn't seem to change any, because we didn't want to work the other valves. Yesterday, we dug down, found out that at the top of the valve, they didn't use stainless, they used brass. Why, we're not sure. So the top
The
of the
bonnet itself, Brent, or
on the gland, the top of the vacuum gland. So the water was spraying out, but we were able to get stainless steel in bolts, shut it down. Then the valve worked 100%, shut the water off. We went back to the leak. It was probably 2 feet from where we repaired. At that time, I said, if we have to go all the way to the new valve, we will, but I want to go back to at least the joint. So we went far enough to replace that joint. When we got to the next piece of pipe, it didn't seem to flake. It seemed to be a lot stronger. So we kept our fingers crossed. We tied up the high maxes and put probably a section of pipe in and touch wood. They loaded the hoe today to take out, so we hope everything will last. So that is what went on there and what we dealt with.
And that's happening probably far too many times.
Well, lately, we had one on 4th Avenue. I just blew a hole out of a 4-inch line, and then this showed up.
So I'm kind of confused, because I would have thought weather, with colder weather would do this, and then we'd have more problems, like.
I think it's just the pipes. It was just that we didn't have Murphy's Law, sorry.
Once already.
Yeah, it, we don't want a storm before Christmas. After Christmas, we don't care. But I think just with the equipment, I think because we had to go down to manipulate the pipe, once we exposed it to shut off the main stop to that abandoned service, I think that just jarred the pipe loose and it just started breaking. And of course, the valves, when we exercise, we don't shut them all the way down. And being brass, I'm not sure why they used it there, but it is 21 years old with new bolts. And we were actually surprised the bell bonnet and everything on it looks really good. It's got no corrosion for 21 years. So we were lucky, we were fortunate. So we're hoping that it holds now again for a little while and we go from there. Touch wood. And then today we had some, our other stuff, we had some graves. Unfortunately, we have a couple of funerals at Friday of some very nice people and so we did that today and caught that kind of stuff up. So we will get the blinking light down tomorrow and hopefully we get it fixed.
Like I said, Kyle asked why the town office got a special light, I don't, people special.
Just so that we know where it is.
Meeting tonight.
We will fix it. So if
You'll
there's
be so
anything else,
disappointed.
yeah, you will. But it's not. If there's anything else, I can try to explain.
I would just like to
Okay.
pass on information that, I went to the Calgary tournament in Hanna and, spoke with some of the organizers. They were just thrilled with our facility, the, town staff. I think the person that reached out to them they're just thrilled with the facility. So that has been awesome. And they, I think they've already booked
That's what Kevin said.
for next, yeah.
Yeah.
And so just to, please pass on to town staff that information, I guess it has nothing to do with you, does it?
East Town staff.
Yeah.
Everybody can.
I'll say it. I'll thank you for it. Thank you to everybody.
Yeah, thanks. But,
always pass it on.
yeah,
Not likely,
but-
but.
my faux pas, sorry. But yeah, it's just amazing when everybody works well together and, it's just pretty awesome. So, maybe
And it-
we'll see them at our golf course.
And it's the same, back to those organizers. Kevin
Yes.
says they're excellent to work with and,
Mhm.
and very appreciative of what we do and how we do it. So, yeah, it's a good relationship right now. So,
Yeah.
It was very interesting because their tournament fees were very, very, very high. And then when they were short one team, the Hanna team got in on a slightly discounted rate and, but yeah, no, overall, it was just great.
Yeah, so that's nice to see when we have,
Yeah.
be nice to see more from outside coming in again as well for other facilities. So anyways, thank you.
Okay, council accepts the senior administrator officials report 8.01 to 8.03 presented for information. Motion, please. Councilor Bowden, all in favor? Carried. 9.0 interim operating budget.
So, Mr. Mayor, as you are aware, we're in the middle of our budget process. Don't have it completed, but the MGA requires that we have a budget in place to expend dollars as we're moving forward. So a lot of municipalities who aren't in this position will have their previous year's operating budget approved until such time as council has time to have the regular budget approved. So we're recommending that council adopt the 2023 operating budget, only no capital, just the operating budget. Until such time as we can adopt the formal one. We do have a meeting on Thursday night, and my hope is that that we are able to bring a budget together for the January 9th meeting. So that's our next regular council meeting. So that's the target, I guess, before us.
Any questions? You need a motion that adopts 2023 operating budget dated May 9th, 2023, and interim 2024 operating budget until such time the council adopts 2024 to 2026 operating budgets and the 2024 to 2028 capital budgets. Motion, please. Councilor Kroll. All in favor? Carried. Community Service Board grants allocations.
So I will start and Mr. Councilor Thorough can fill in whatever. But annually, council has provided funds to Community Services Board to grant to respective groups and organizations in the community. They did have their deadline for applications being September 30th. 4 applications were received. At the November 20th meeting, all the applicants were in attendance and provided a brief presentation to the board on their ask and answered any questions that the board may have. Following the conclusion, the board has a kind of a matrix that they use to help them make decisions based on point rating system, so whether they're youth versus adult, youth get priorities, number of years since they received a grant, demonstrated need, whether it's a special event, a one-off, or it's an ongoing operating versus capital, number of participants, benefits, etc. So following that process, the board is recommending to council that grant in the amount of $500 be given to the Hanna Municipal Library for their Life Skills for Teens program. $1,000 to Hanna Lacrosse for purchase of jerseys. $750 to the Kitty's Corner Play School for purchase of developmentally appropriate toys. And $750 to Hanna Dance Association for the purchase of first aid kits and Bluetooth speakers. So if there's any questions, in particular, Counselor Thurl was there and part of the group, and he can probably best answer them.
I got to play with some of the toys at police school, they're pretty cool.
Yeah.
They got all kinds of blocks, like you can do all kinds of crap. on that shit.
No
Then,
Play-Doh?
oh no, I didn't touch Play-Doh because I'm contaminated, by the wooden blocks, I had to wash them after I stacked them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I'd like to say it's nice to see everybody getting a bit of a piece of the pie to put towards their requests and.
Well, that's what we look at, you know, we don't wanna shortchange anybody, you know, we look at different reasonings why we do it. Like Kitty's Corner, they only asked for 500, but we thought with the cost of everything, you know, with the blocks and everything, you know, the $750 would help purchase what they need, not just shortchange them.
Well, the weird part about the blocks is they're not just cut a piece of two by four, it's like balsamic wood or whatever it
It's a
is.
special wood.
It's pretty cool stuff, actually.
Were those the only applications you had?
The only four, yeah, so,
I'm always happy to see that you disperse the funds amongst all the applications. I think it gives opportunity to all the applicants.
yeah, Hanna Library, you know, we thought seeing, the town already, you know, gives them a financial boost, you know, we thought, you know, it was, let's give to the others. We always look at a minimum of $500, so we thought we'll go with that, you know, because with the money that we already purchased or give to the municipal library, you know, they can maybe look at the grants that they got. And, Hanna Dance, safety is one big issue, you know, if you don't have your first aid kits, everything that travel with you, you don't know, it's something different. And the lacrosse, they got two teams that are going to play in the league, so, and they had a contest, they come up with the name Hanna Harvesters, and we think it's great, you know, if they want to get out and promote, let's get some jerseys on these boys. And they are a little pricey, they said the cheapest ones they can get are $80, you know, they're special, they could get heavier ones, but poor little guys would be sweating so bad that they're
What
falling
is the
over.
age group of that? I didn't see.
7
that.
and 9s are
Okay,
the
so-
ones that got
okay.
two full teams,
Okay,
but they're going to all the way up to 18-year-olds.
There's U7s and U9s will actually play competitively this year.
Okay,
The
that's
Yeah.
U17s, there's not enough of them, so they're gonna do some jamborees and, what do you call it? Intertwining with some other associations and clubs and hopefully generate some more guys, but the,
that's good.
lacrosse is actually, it's funny, because my other grandson, who's 5 now. When they started, they couldn't pick up a ball, they couldn't throw a ball, they didn't have a clue. And we went up to the Stetler Jamboree to watch, and the Stetler kids have been doing it for years, are just wow. And then by the time the year was done, the U5, U7s and U9s were getting pretty good to the point where they could pass a ball, they could pick a ball up, they understood the rules a little more. So yeah, it's a pretty neat thing to get started from ground level, and they've had their fair share of, I don't know what to call it.
Challenges?
Challenges, growing pains, yeah, all of the above, but yeah, they're pretty happy with how it's gone so far, so. And the dance, they're busy too, so.
Oh, yeah.
Do you need a motion?
We do.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, motions, Counselor Bowden, that council approves the recommendations of the Community Services Board toward the 2023 Community Services Grant, the amount of $3,000 as follows. $500 Hanna Municipal Library, $1,000 Hanna Lacrosse, $750 Kids Corner Play School, $750 Hanna Dance Association. All in favor? Carried. next is Pace Canada project non-support letter.
So I don't know, I guess I provided a draft letter. I guess what I was hoping from council is consensus, or if we need to tweak it in any way before it's sent. I was kind of flying a little bit blind in terms of what we wanted to say, and I don't know if I captured it well, so I'm looking to you guys to see if there's anything you'd like to see changed in it prior to, again, voting on it and having consent.
The only comment I'd say, the messaging's all good, just the wording, about the closest solar farm uncontrolled airport in the world. I just had an edit of where it starts, there's still uncertainty due to the fact that no solar endeavor of this scale has ever been attempted adjacent to an uncontrolled aerodrome. Is the more.
Aerodrome.
Yeah.
Councilor Olson, I'll ask you to email that terminology to me
Right.
rather than me trying to write it down.
Yep. The other
Certainly.
thought is, should it come from council instead of your name at the bottom?
Yeah, and I don't like that top part. I don't think we have to add in if it was coming from the mayor and council. I don't think we need that council direct administration to draft a letter to Pace. I think that whole part needs to be eliminated as in a proper letter format. So it would be just Dear Claude, and then I would add. You can put that first part, has many concerns and questions.
Well, and inaccuracies, I'd like.
And you know what, even if we indicate that it was November 12th, we still had more questions and concerns at December 12th. So I would leave out the date and just said we have concerns and questions. And then I would continue on. About. I would say we, the council. Are in non-support and opposition of the proposed Harvest Sky Solar Project in their designated location adjacent to the Hanna Airport and runway.
Do we want to add in as well as within the municipality? If they say, well, we don't, okay, we'll move it to somewhere else within the municipality.
But do you have the same concerns if it's in another part of the municipality?
I just.
Yeah.
But others may have, it may affect more individuals as far as optics and, yeah, I don't know.
And then I think the rest is good. We're not indicating that we're totally opposed to renewable energies, but in fact, we have the concerns in the specific areas as indicated in those point forms.
I would like to add the fact that some of the information has been corrected numerous times and
Well, that's
claims,
another-
false claims have been made,
Point of reference we can make in there now.
false claims as far as the satisfaction by the Point and Blair, or the fact that they've talked to the fire staff, fire chief and staff, and did not happen.
I think we can just put about the inaccuracies of the information because it came out in several and not be specific indicators, I don't think, because I think there's many.
Yeah, you could be, yeah.
I don't think we need to be specific, but I think that just there was lots of inaccuracies in the information
Numerous
provided.
corrections due to inaccurate information.
So they're saying just rewrite it.
Yeah.
No, actually, it's really good. There's just a few in it. It's just, if you're putting who's signing it, we're not, I don't think it was intended for our CAO to
No.
sign it. I think it was for the mayor. And council.
Well, I don't think
So-
the mayor's in favor of it.
Well, whether he is or he isn't, it passed by
So,
majority
yeah,
vote,
so the rationale behind me signing it was based on the resolution that was
yes.
passed. that directed administration to draft the letter. So I have no issue if Mayor Bobischuk is the one that signs it.
We asked you to draft it, we didn't ask you to sign it.
So-
Sorry.
Yeah.
We're not throwing you under the bus yet.
But to be honest, I think it would have more impact if we all signed it.
Well, but
But-
that's part and parcel of why I put the council resolution in the upper part, because that shows that council by majority asked for this to happen.
Well, if it comes from the mayor though,
It
that's.
can be mayor and council. I've seen lots of letters that come from mayor and council. I mean, the fact remains, the mayor operates under the direction of the council.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, I
mean,
think
it's
we
illegal
certainly
to
will
just
change it to,
governance.
we
I might
certainly,
not listen, but you can tell.
we certainly will change it to Mayor Bobischuk. No, that's very easily done, so. Anything else?
we don't need you to listen, we just need your signature, Mr. Mayor.
Just be quiet.
So can you just, like, redraft this and email it to us individually and then can we respond yes or no? Rather than
can't,
waiting for the
But
next meeting?
I can't do it that way, Counselor Kroll, because I might get 4 different responses. Yeah, I guess you're gonna have to have some trust in the mayor signing it, that we captured everything. But I think if I send it out to you and then it's so hard, if somebody has, I wanted this change and somebody says, I want this change, it just goes back and forth and back and forth.
Well, it'll go on for months.
And if we wait and bring it back again in January,
No.
it's just, we've lost another month, so.
I think it's pretty comprehensive. I think taking out a little bit of it, not making it look like our CAO wrote it.
Yeah.
And adding those in, plus the other, couple little indicators that Kyle indicated in wording and the fact of,
Inaccuracies, yeah.
yeah, I think it's our point has been well made.
Numerous corrections on there, the information given out to us.
We're gonna say there's too many inaccuracies.
And
These are across the box.
So do we need a motion?
I'll make that
Yes.
motion. Mr.
Counselor
Mayor.
Warwick,
So the motion that, I would change the motion from what's here to say that the mayor provide a letter of non-support to Pace Canada LP for the proposed solar farm development.
That is correct.
perfect. All in favor? Carried.
yeah, there's witness.
What's that?
But it will, yeah, it will state counts. Yeah. There's also- Yeah, the sooner the better. It sounds like he's already been presenting stuff to AUC.
Well, I think from my, again, interpretation of the presentation today, the stuff he was talking to about AUC was generic, not specific to this project, but until he submits the application, they don't have anything to move forward on.
Are they, it's not open yet, is it? Did the government open it up or?
No, but you can still submit
There's nothing being-
applications during there. They're just not gonna make any decisions
Okay.
on any of them until the
Couple more months.
moratorium period is up.
About a month, isn't it?
End of February, I think.
Which I think is a good thing.
100%.
Yeah, I think they just need to get their feet underneath them and a little bit of walking before they run and.
Well, it's been fast and furious.
Well,
So-
decommissioning is the big, you know, they're.
Well, decommissioning is, I mean, I'm going, and I'm not gonna BS you, I'm gonna get a hold with him and ask him in English what that. You know, percentage here, percentage there, cause I mean, the last thing, and I'm gonna tell you this point blank, the town does not want. solar.
No. And that's what will happen. if
Well,
the
it's-
Landowner walks away, so.
Right?
Well, cause the landowner is gonna come up with $300,000 in taxes, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
You guys voted on that one, right?
Yep.
Yes.
9.033,
No, 04.
04, sorry.
So just, we talked about this a little bit in previous meetings, so, just had the Prairie Sky subsidized counseling program group put a bit of a briefing together in terms of some of the issues and concerns they're seeing with the program. The good news is lots of our residents are taking them up on their services and their counseling services. The challenge is it's getting to be costly for the partnership, and we've seen ours increase to $30,000. So what I'd like to do, if council agrees, is we'd like to basically approach all of the partners in the Prairie Sky Counseling. So we've got the Town of Hanna Special Areas Board, Starland County Ag Society, Lynx, I might be missing one, but and basically get a joint letter together that would go to the Minister of Health, the Minister of Mental Health, and our local MLA, just advising them of the issues that our residents are having accessing provincial mental health programs and counseling, and the financial strain that this difficulty in accessing those services is putting on our program. So as you can see, again, we don't have any hard and fast statistics, but the general understanding of our therapists is that with the centralized intake, there's no longer a local walk-in or call-in reception, so all intakes are done via a lengthy phone or online intake. This is creating issues for those who don't have the technology or access, or may have literacy challenges in completing the intake. There are reports of folks feeling re-traumatized and having to recount their concerns to the intake worker without then having immediate access to appropriate care to support them. Waiting reports of several months for first appointments. Frequency of appointment is a struggle. They've heard of physician prescribing the patient should be getting bi-weekly mental health support, but they can only get booked in for AHS care monthly. So diagnosis, the AHS practitioners only see patients with a diagnosable mental health condition. So it excludes folks who may be experiencing short-term difficulties, issues with a recent trauma or loss, and expertise of practitioners. Our local staff may not have training in specific modalities, meaning there's complex cases that those needs must be referred out. We just think because of those challenges, and we do have a local program, they're going to our local program first when it's kind of seen as a secondary support, and that's driven up the number of clients and the cost to the partners to keep the program.
Well, when the primary support fails, then it's.
Yeah. And like I said to Michelle, I've had this conversation and said, would we ever want to basically approach the province and say, hey, we've got this program, it's working, would you fund it? There's some pros to that, but the biggest con to that is we've struggled up until the last few years of having a local therapist. And we've got 2 excellent local therapists, but if something changes in their
How do you recruit?
lifestyle and they're not in the community any longer, and we've got this program set up, then we've got ourselves on the hook to be able to provide that service. So we kind of thought that wasn't probably the best way to go, but we did want them to know and understand that their problems with their system is causing us issues, and it's basically a form of downloading.
Well,
So
everything been
It's-
downloaded, or not everything, but a lot of stuff's been downloaded.
Yeah, everything's been done.
we're fortunate we have the partners, and we're fortunate that we have the service available, but it is definitely, we believe, a form of downloading.
Okay, so we need a motion. The council director administration approach Prairie Sky subsidized counseling partners to write a joint letter to the Minister of Health, the Minister of Mental Health and Addictions, and Minister MLA, coroner advising the issues residents are having accessing provincial mental health programs and counseling, financial strain, there's difficulties accessing services, putting on the Prairie Skies subsidized counseling partners. Motion, Counselor Carroll. All in favor? Starland letter of support.
So, Mr. Mayor, I don't know a ton about this, other than the letter you see from, the Starland County Economic Development Officer, but it looks like, my understanding is that Starland County, is looking at a grant application to the Northern and Regional Economic Development Program to do some planning and work on a potential mixed-use business park at the Morn Corner. So, I think they're asking for a letter of support from the town that they would use as part of their application for funding, for this project, so.
Discussion, Counselor Olson.
It makes me uncomfortable knowing that we have a business park to the south of us, an industrial park that we're trying to fill as well. I mean, I know we're not competing. Yeah, it's weird with me to support I still see it as competition. We're not gonna get two places, or two companies going to both.
Yeah, and I,
This is a different,
Well, it's
Mike.
different, some industrial, some commercial.
yeah, I think this is more, I've talked to John a little bit about it, this is more of a commercial venture than the industrial.
Yeah.
like it was a long time ago, because my friend's parents used to own the gas station there. I think they're looking at doing maybe something that's similar to what's at Cactus Corner out there, in terms of gas station, restaurant. But they've got a large site with 143 acres, so it could expand into serviced industrial sites as well. So yeah, it's the dilemma, do we support our our partner municipality or what? So that's certainly why you guys get the big dollars to make those difficult decisions.
Well, would we go with the same? Should there be something, coming into the harvest or to the Sheerness Industrial Park or, oh, I can't remember what it's called,
No, that's what it's called.
to our park, asking them for support as well, or?
I guess that would be at Special Areas who owns that park. We're
I
going
guess
to,
that would be them.
we're going
asking
to
that
be
information, yeah.
submitting an application, certainly. That could be one of the things they would ask for letters of support from.
Maybe they should be asking Special Areas.
They might be. I would be surprised if they
Yeah,
weren't.
they-
I'm sure there would be.
So I guess wonder what impact we would have just by providing a letter of support.
I don't know if we
There's no-
have tremendous impact, but we certainly wouldn't hurt it. I don't think they're gonna go, oh, okay, look, that town of Hanna signed on to this one and we're going to approve it. But, I think it does show support from the region for this.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not, personally, I don't think it's gonna hurt us at all to support this.
Well, the fact that Starland contributes to the hospital, like the clinic, and, you know.
There's a few partnerships
yeah,
that Starland
we have with
does.
Starland.
Certainly provide funding for here because of their eastern part of their county. This is their service area.
So maybe for that very reason, I might support it on that basis. Is that they
That's-
are already a
That's what I'm
partner.
thinking as well,
Yeah.
Counselor Bowman.
And does it jeopardize us in any way?
I don't.
But how?
It's a letter of support, it's not a.
Commitment to
It's not
anything.
financial.
I understand that.
I totally am. I think we should support them. They've been awesome. I've dealt with them for years. My little print shop was really busy with Starland County. And they're our neighbors and we have to support each other. We have to try and promote local entrepreneurship. So we stop relying on big cities and big business. Yeah, so I'm in.
Okay, any other discussion? Can we get a motion to write a letter of support for Spokane County? Their business park at Moore?
We don't have to review it, do we?
The application of the letter,
The
no.
letter.
Council Murphy? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Absolutely.
At least you did run the recording.
Well, it might affect us.
But they're already a partner, so, you know, I don't know that, maybe that's why they're asking us, because.
We'll put in the letter, except for Kyle.
Sure.
He didn't, he doesn't like it.
Everybody but Kyle.
Everybody but Kyle.
Okay, council reports.
Started that in, please.
Okay. Councilor Farrell?
Okay, I attended the community service board meeting. Then went to our next budget meeting and then attended the town Christmas party, and that was entertaining. Made it down to the intersection for the pep meeting, which I couldn't go any further because of road conditions, and we're going tomorrow to the waste management meeting in Youngstown, and I got lots of questions for the budget meeting on December 14th.
Council Murphy?
I've had an Acadia Foundation meeting. And, library board had a couple of those. We're working on budgets. And Acadia Foundation, I'm also on their budget committee, so we're working on budgets there. Little scary, we're still getting funding from the federal government for the pandemic. Because our numbers are based on 2019. Now, if they stop and they say, now we're gonna start basing it on today's numbers, we're working on making sure we have a fail safe when the money stops coming in. And, that's about it.
Councilor Olson?
I've got nothing to add, it's all there.
Councilor Warwick?
I did have a report, but there was a couple of things that come up at our Harvest Sky Economic Development meeting today. We did pass a motion to apply for the Canada Summers Job Grant for staffing for the Hanna Visitor Center information in anticipation of being asked to manage the visitor center in 2024. So just as a proactive measure, we did pass a motion to apply for that. There was some discussion today about a relocation of office space. So Mark has most recently been in Lynx, but we are now looking at a possibility. We've had some different options with the town of Hanna being next door with the Chamber of Commerce. We have an opportunity for him to be in the special areas building, or of course, just remaining at Lynx. I guess the question that came up today, we didn't make a decision on it. Mostly because of dollar value. We thought that possibly the partnership, having them in this building, in with the Chamber of Commerce, would give us a storefront and have more access as a walk-in versus having them possibly at special areas or in the Lynx building, although the Lynx building is a busy building. I guess the only determining factor would be is if the rent would remain the same. If we moved Mark into this facility next door versus him staying in Lynx right now. So I believe it's $300 we pay a month. So I guess we just wanted to have some conversation and whether the council would support that we move Mark in to the space next door. There is space available there. There is room there. There might have to be some shared facility or like coffee machines and stuff. If we could sort of rely on the town to maybe provide some of that. But if he did move in there, would we remain and would only charge him $300 per month.
Yeah, I can't speak for council, but I would think that that would be a reasonable number based that that's what the chamber pays.
Yeah.
Right.
I know the goal of the chamber, you know, obviously they want to solidify a space, and we've been upfront with them right now to say your $300 a month doesn't carry the whole load if there is someone out there who would be willing to provide a larger payment for that same space. We do support the chamber, but we have to look at dollars and cents. So I think that's one of their reasons for reaching out to Harvest Sky. There's other reasons, but that's one of them. If they can get another partner in there, they would like to then come back to council and say, we'd like to solidify a long-term lease arrangement there, whether that's 3 years versus a month to month. So 300 from them, 300 from the chamber gets us to 600. We're getting 1,000, so it's still on the I would think the subsidized side, but certainly would double what the contribution that we're getting now, so.
And just for clarification, the chamber did send a letter, you know, of encouragement and acceptance to, you know, to have the possibility of Mark moving into the facility, so that, yeah. We just wanted to make sure that the council as a whole, it's going back to the special areas as well, just would, you know, support that move and, yeah, that initiative, so if you guys are in support of that at the next meeting, we will probably make that move at that time. Mark is pretty flexible with, he said really it doesn't matter where he is. Yeah, he could be anywhere virtually, he said, so.
But I think he wanted to also check out the possibility with special areas, that there was some feeling that he may have some space in there as well. And since he does a fair bit of work with some of the economic development people there, that maybe that would be a good fit. But wanted to see what options are available. If it could also be a storefront or like easy access for people to come in and go see him without going through the rest of the office as well. So I think that discussion was gonna happen and be brought back to us.
Well, I think I could speak on just kind of listening to conversation, $300 would be agreeable, and if he's willing to come, awesome, if not, then.
At the end of the day, whatever works best for Harvest Sky is the decision
Yeah.
for you guys. If special areas has a space that's going to work better for you, certainly you have to take care of yourself first, but I do know it would be much appreciated by the chamber. I think they would appreciate having that.
I mean, the
Partnership, so.
flexibility with this location, there was a little bit more flexibility, and Mark comes and goes, he has meetings with people, and those are undetermined. It might be at 7 o'clock at night, it might be a Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock. He will meet with people. We don't know that flexibility is there with the special areas, although the special areas may in fact offer him free rent. So we
Yeah.
don't know that yet either, because that had to go back to there, so we're not sure, but.
Those won't leave his office.
I ain't sure in my office.
Yeah.
There's a few things at play there, so, I mean, there's lots that, Harvest Sky Economic Development is doing. If you don't know what that is, I'd be happy to share all that information. I have this paperwork here. We get lots of people from our community that constantly question, you know, what do you do? Where are you? You know, and we had good conversation about that again today. One thing that did come up today, we talked once again about the community kitchen in our strategic plan actions, and how we originally were going to look at doing the commercial kitchen in Lions Hall. And but now we're looking at upgrading the existing facility in the community center, which I was happy to hear. So we're working on that. So I really hope that works itself to fruition, because we're desperate I've had a lot of complaints this last little while about that community, center kitchen. It's, yeah. And there's problems, like I had a person come to me a couple days ago and complain about, in September, they found mice droppings, they found mice. There was a bunch of different things that happened within that kitchen. I was kind of shocked to hear that. And I said, oh, and so I don't know if you heard about that.
Well,
You
I'm
just-
disappointed if should be their first step.
Yeah, into the town.
If the user has issues with the facility, we should be the first person. to
Yeah.
hear
Yeah,
about
so
it.
if you didn't hear about that.
I haven't heard about it. That doesn't mean,
Oh.
Kevin hasn't, but,
Yeah, and so maybe has, I don't know, I was kind of surprised and taken back, but I didn't disagree that the kitchen was in dire need of some serious upgrading, so, yeah, anyhow. That's all I'll say, like I said, I have some information here on our investment attraction, some of the things we've been involved in. And some of our strategic plans that, we have worked on over the last while, so if anybody wants to look at these, if they're interested in what's going on at Harvest Sky, I'd be happy to share any of this documentation. In fact, I maybe will just attach, if I can get a hard copy of it, maybe I'll just, or a digital copy, I'll attach it to my next minutes with my council presentation.
And again, back to the Harvest Sky, like, we've got, another new family moved here from Montreal of all places.
Yeah, well,
I think that's part of the marketing.
And it's one of those things, you can't put a line and say that it's because of that, but, I mean, somebody's doing something right, whether it's Lori on her end or Mark on his end. How someone in Montreal, Quebec finds Hanna and decides that this is the place to move to.
But I also think it's bigger than that. It's,
Oh, no, for
it's the
sure.
community itself. Like the community provides the services that people want and this small town feel and, low housing prices. So there's a number of
Yeah.
factors. Certainly some of the, marketing materials stimulates that interest. But then I think the community.
Well, she's just tickled pink. She's been to parents and tots and quizzed out the play school and, yeah, so it's still kind of cool. We got somebody, like I said, moving from Montreal to Hanna, Alberta, so. Counselor Bowden,
I attended the same meeting that, Councillor Warwick did as well regarding Harvest Sky, and, there was discussion whether or not, Harvest Sky should enter into discussions with other groups, like as far as special areas and Wanda Dykow, for economic development. There seems to be a lot of duplication where they're all, I think even the town is all doing marketing or certain things, and there's lots of duplication. So there was some discussion about that, and
Okay.
and
That's fine.
I guess we needed to know what feedback, I guess at least to have a discussion to see if there is, a need to involve, like expand it into special areas 3 and 4. And, whether or not to bring, say, as an example, maybe a school board and that sort of thing, or just leave it the way it is. So there was some thought that maybe that there would be, more ideas and maybe, collaboration within other groups that everyone could benefit from, so. Lori?
That's fine. There's not, I was just gonna say there's not duplication. The meetings
I mean, like overlap.
that you were
or-
speaking about, earlier, quizzing Kim about, those same people frequently sit in on those meetings. So we share the information and use each other as resources to build the cases and the resources and work off of each other's gaps. So it's not a duplication of efforts so much as it's combining the efforts to make us stronger.
Well, I guess that was what kind of the discussion was, whether or not Harvest Sky should be branching out to also maybe include some of those individuals.
The challenge is like, one is always a part of our discussions, but the challenge and that it's a bit of a bigger picture. Special areas needs to, make a decision on how they want to handle their economic development portfolio. And it's don't get me wrong, it's a large geographic space with all kinds of different nuances, but at the end of the day, is there one umbrella that would best serve? That's yet to be determined, but I think that's something special areas has to give considerable thought to as the, they provide funding for Harvest Sky. They also fund directly, 3 and 4 and,
Well, and at the end of the day, not outranks, but if there's a pull between two different projects, where does it go? Who's gonna have priority over,
yeah.
one or the other? And I think there might be a bit of that down the way is, unless it's something that could benefit everybody.
There could be, the challenge has always been, and the theory has always been that what's good for one is good for all, so, like I said, there's strengths in each area, and I think, yes, we might find ourselves competing maybe for the same industry and the same resource, but at the end of the day, that company or that resource should make the decision that's best for them. But it's a large geographic area, so and there's established, I don't know if I want to use turf, but there's established positions already that, so it would require potentially a significant change, so.
Well, and I think, just after having a conversation after this meeting today with somebody very important in our community, not this community, but just to bring up the Badlands. I mean, their initial establishment was very well run and did very well. But then when they branched out beyond, kind of sort of maybe what we're looking at a little bit, they lost capacity and it virtually doesn't exist today.
No, it's dissolved.
So the caution was to be very, very careful about how you're doing that, because exactly I think what you just explained, Mr. Neal, just looking at.
Well, and territorial too, maybe something. So we like the way it's going right now, leaving it with Youngstown and especially there's 2 in Hanna, and.
I think the premise is to like, and to continue to operate this way, but we always have to be open.
Yeah.
We always have to be open for other options and opportunities, and there may be something that comes down the road that involves special areas 3 and 4 that may work better. And we have to be open to it, not closed off to it and not wanting to consider it. I think we have to consider all the options always as we move forward, so.
And maybe that's, a one-off.
Yeah.
Just leave it the way it is. If there's an opportunity to work together on a larger project,
Yeah.
maybe that should be looked at that time and leave things, it's not broken, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I also sat in on a phone meeting with, our, Mr. Horner and, last night actually, and it went through all of southern Alberta. And so there were questions that we're dealing with, need for modifications for education and for healthcare and all that sort of thing. And I was just wondering whether or not it would be an opportunity to maybe put it out there to invite Mr. Horner to come and meet with us. I know his schedule is very, very full and it may not be till April, but just to maybe have a but council with him to explain our situation regarding funding, the MSI replacement, which I can't remember the acronym.
LGFF.
And let him know, and I think he's probably quite aware that we're all fighting for that dollar that every community is asking for to help with infrastructure and housing and healthcare and all the other stuff, but maybe it would be nice to have a visit with him at some point and.
Yeah, I've reached out to his representatives and said, please see if they can find a time. They have indicated, as the finance
Yes.
minister, he's certainly a busier
demand.
man
Yes.
in high demand, and of course, they're working on their budget right now, so it might not be for a little while, but I've got the request in, so.
But the LGFL, you know, I think we need to, put some pressure on trying to increase it. And I think AMA is advocating for
Yeah.
us and stuff. That's all I have.
Let's go.
Nothing, no.
I haven't had a whole bunch of excitement with the mayor. So, just the usual. Got accused of trying to run a business out of town yesterday, so. It's fine, I'll get over it.
Well, don't let it happen again.
Yeah,
All
no,
the pieces
I
here.
won't.
Attract them, don't run them out.
Yeah. Motion to accept council reports for information. Council Bolton, all in favor? Carried. Correspondence.
I don't know if there's anything pressing in correspondence, Mr. Mayor, unless anybody's read through it and has any questions.
Hearing none. Motion to accept correspondence for information.
Mr. Mayor, I actually have one question. If I could just, I'm sorry, I apologize for this, but I pulled this, it was in the review. And, this transportation, for seniors in Oyen, this Healthy Aging Alberta, they applied for this transportation program. There was 5 rural communities that got accepted. Did we know about this at all? Like, was there any, like, I'm wondering, you know, they talk about the same problems we have here with getting our people transportation from here to their medical appointments and all the rest of it. And, you know, our Drive Happy, I see the stats on it. We're still, you know, we still don't have full capacity to take people on any given time, but like Oyen got approved for 242,000. And I'm just wondering if we even actually, you know, knew about this at all that we could.
I was approached, yesterday by Alberta Health Services. And they wanted a bunch of information on my services that I do and stuff and that. And that was through that same program.
The Healthy Aging Alberta? Yeah, I think, I'm sad that we didn't have an opportunity to be a part of this if that was the case. And maybe there still is a case. I know there was an allocation of dollars, 1.1 million investment. And Edson got 275, Fox Creek, you guys probably read this. Oyen, Sundre, and the municipality of Smoky River got some money,
So I'm not sure if it's the same program, but I know, through our PCN program up at the clinic and the hospital, the primary care network. I know there has been some discussions about transportation, and I don't know if it's in regards to that specific grant program, but I know that there's a group of people. Michelle's been working with them. I can't remember the lady from the primary care network, Kim. I can't remember. There's been a few, and DeRay have been looking at some options,
okay.
funding options.
This lady was from Alberta Health Services that found that.
Okay, yeah, but the lady, I know there's someone from the primary care network that's been spearheading that in this area, so,
Okay, because I know they said there's 20 more programs available, so
yeah.
it'd be great if we could get
Yes.
a piece of this to support. I mean, we need that as well in our small community. Thank you.
Okay, we will adjourn at 9:10.
I'll make the motion. that we adjourn. Oh, correspondence accepted.
Correspondence.
I got
I
it.
tried that and then it got cut off, so.
I'll do that.
I'm